Welcome back, everybody, to the Words from the Nerds podcast, reunited once again. It feels good to be back. I did listen to your guys' episode last week, at least most of it. I didn't go into the Last of Us stuff because I hadn't caught up on the episodes yet, but I listened to everything else. You guys talked about me a little bit. You guys missed me. I get it. So I'm glad to be back, the three of us. Very exciting week we have. We have some list updates. We're going to be talking about the rest of Andor as well as Rogue One, which is probably the thing that I'm most excited to talk about because Charlie had never seen it up to this point. Aiden and I had already watched it before Andor and whatnot. I mean, it's been out for almost 9 years, so Charlie's just behind
Crazy.
on a lot of Star Wars things, but that'll be exciting. And then also talking about The Last of Us. I don't remember the last time that I talked about The Last of Us or how many episodes I given thoughts on, but I'm all caught up on it, so we'll be discussing that series as well. Before we get into how these gentlemen are doing, a couple of just housekeeping things. If you want to, you can leave a comment down below. We read them out loud on the episode, give a response. It sparks some discussion usually. So if you want to, you can go ahead and do that. You can also leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and if you're on an audio listening platform such as Spotify, Apple Music, you can give us a 5-star rating or a 4-star rating. We won't be too upset at that.
I will.
You will. But any way that you want to support, subscribing, liking, commenting, whatever you end up wanting to do, we appreciate all of it. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Am I missing anything else? I haven't hosted in a while.
Only I don't know. You said you listened a little bit last week. We missed Brandon's comment. That was it.
You guys
Just
missed Brandon's comment?
yeah, we were. I mean, we were just so like gun ho on covering Andor that we just like breezed past everything. We forgot to do a list update because we were gonna do it last week, and I was like, oh, I forgot we didn't even do it. So
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I can pull it up if
I have it up, but I don't know exactly what it's in reference to. I assume it's
I
some
can.
sort of project that was talked about.
It was no, this was the episode you were on with Thunderbolts. There wasn't a comment last week.
Oh, was this about
Yeah.
the
Eric
the
Davis's
2020, yeah, the 2026 Marvel movie that we thought there was something that was going to be coming out in February, a couple months before Avengers Doomsday. Um, yeah, so the comment from Brandon says on that 2026 placeholder date, Eric did say it could have been removed and he had just missed it. He did say in a reply that it would have been a little odd for them to have a movie coming out in February and we don't know what it is. So basically saying kind of what we were saying is like it's a little strange for us not to know about it considering we know everything else that's coming up through the middle of 2027, and we were kind of speculating, didn't know if this was one of their things that they just had to throw in there and kind of rush just so they could set up Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars a little bit better. But it would make more sense if it just like was a mistake and that there's not actually something coming out in February of 2026.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok. Somebody was talking about it the other day, and they weren't talking about it, but they breezed past it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I think this is the movie that ended up being Spider-Man," and then they just moved past it like that. So I was like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, we were just looking way into it. I guess it could just be as easy as moving it down, just having a placeholder, and then moving it to Spider-Man." So yeah,
Yeah.
but that's it.
Yeah. With that being said, Mr. Aiden, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, man. I'm ready to talk about this show. I'm ready to talk about Rogue One. Last time I saw it was on a plane at like 6 in the morning on my way to come visit my now fiance. So to revisit the movie, especially after finishing Andor, I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to finally not dance around spoilers for Charlie. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to get into this discussion. I've had a good week, just another week getting closer to the wedding. It's creeping up, and I'm very excited for that. Also, Andor episode last week with just me and Charlie was our best performing episode since Invincible season 3. since we covered Invincible season 3 on March 14th.
Dang.
So pretty cool. Audio
audio.
Petite
Okay.
I
showing
guess
out.
I'll just head out then. I guess.
No,
Yeah.
man. We
So
need the balance of opinions here.
So how did it do when it comes to audio listening? Do you have the stats up?
Yeah. So Invincible season 3 episode on March 14th actually went bananas. So this is like a unfair comparison, but still, it got 27 listens, which that was huge because we hadn't reached that since we started up with Dune Part 2. No, we hadn't reached that since August of 2023. So that was really cool. But it had kind of just been like in the lower numbers. But Andor popped off for our sake, popped off with a little 6 downloads. So, hey, I'm taking that any day of the week. So, yeah.
Charlie, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm really, really good. You know what I have been up to this past week? Watching a lot of stuff. As Aiden mentioned, I finally watched Rogue One, and we'll talk about that today. But, you know, something else I watched. 2 things I watched, actually. And those 2 things are Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, wow.
Dude, finally.
Yo, let's go.
Dude.
And I gotta say, Top Gun, the first one, massively over. Like, what massively overhyped. Like, I'm sure it was cool at the time, but I just had so many questions. Like, how did Goose die? Like, I'm sorry, how did Goose die during that? Like, did he break his back, break his neck, or something? Whatever. I won't cling on to that too long. But Maverick, bro. But fucking Maverick, bro. Yo, that shit was so fucking. That was some hot fire, bro. I can't lie. I mean, obviously, there's certain things like just par for the course with the time period in which the movie is made. Like, you can have better shots inside of the actual jets, and also there's the factor that all of the actors were actually inside of jets when all of those were filmed. And I'm sure some of that might have been true maybe for the first Top Gun as well, but maybe not. I have no idea. But either way, they looked much better here in Maverick, and like it was just so much more intense, so much more on the edge of my seat. And dude, like specifically, this isn't a spoiler for anybody else who's like me who hasn't seen it yet. But right after they do towards the climax of the movie, like during the climax of the movie, on their way down, and they're like dodging all the SAM turrets and whatnot, and the editing just cutting back and forth. It's so sporadic, dude. I was up, man. Like that was so sick. But yeah, man, I loved the hell out of that. I really didn't think I would. I'm not big into like, I don't know, dogfight jet kind of, like even like the Star Wars dogfight stuff. Like I don't really care about that. But that kind of turned it around for me. So Maverick, I don't want to go too deep into it. We got other things to talk about, but yeah, Maverick, bro. I shouldn't have slept on it so long, man.
So ahead of that movie's release, they were playing, I think it was special for IMAX. They were doing like a sneak preview, and it was like a 5-minute scene of them dogfighting just as like training with one another. And that's like all it was just like a chunk from the movie to get the hype built up for the advertisement to make you want to go see it in IMAX. And I saw that a few times. And every time I saw it as like a preview or a trailer, I really just like didn't care for it. I was just like, this is getting a little repetitive. It's a bit too much. And then when I saw it in the movie, I took all of it back. I ate my words. Incredible. I got to ask, just because we talked about it recently, when it comes to like some of the best movies that have released this decade, does that fall into this conversation?
Ooh. This decade, yeah. So far in the 2020s, yeah, I will agree with that. I mean, and again, to compare it to the first one, like a huge step up in every way, even like just story writing wise. Like it was just so much more compelling. Small complaints I have was like they're kind of like a nameless bad guy that they're kind of fighting the whole time. Like they don't designate who, like what country it is or anything like that. I'm not sure why, but that's a
Gotta
small
sell.
thing.
Gotta sell
That's true. Yeah,
tickets.
they got to get to all the other countries for sure. But that's a small thing in the grand scheme of things. But it is super emotional, more emotional than I thought it would be. In terms of like a Tom Cruise movie, like Tom Cruise and any of the stuff that he's in, I never deemed that as like super emotional. Like it can elicit some emotions from me, but for the most part, it's kind of just a cut and dry like action thing, which usually they do have like decent stories, not overly boring stories. But yeah, this one had the emotional punch, and I don't know.
Did you
And
cry?
honestly, no, I didn't cry.
did.
I was feeling it, but I didn't cry.
I did.
And honestly, what shocked me is like I only kind of watched it because, and I think that she just wanted to watch it because of Lewis Pullman after Thunderbolts. But
Yeah.
I thought you were saying
my
the
girlfriend
beach
was
scene.
my girlfriend was the one who wanted to watch Top Gun Maverick specifically. But then I was like, well, I don't want to watch the second one without watching the first one, so. Then we did the whole thing. But yeah, I would say yes. That was a long-winded way to say yes. That I do think it is probably one of the best of the decade so far. I couldn't give you my full list right now. I mean, obviously, I could tell you what would be on it: Dune 2, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Sinners.
Across the Spider-Verse, Oppenheimer.
Yeah. See, I need to rewatch Oppenheimer because I do remember liking it, but I know it's good. I need to rewatch it to find out where I'd place that because I've only seen it the one time that we all saw it. I haven't watched it since.
Oh wow.
Or sorry, that me and Aiden watched it.
I was about to say
yeah.
I watched it after that, but it was really I watched it for the first time after my little nap that I took in California when we watched it. Anyways, I'm doing well. My trip was really great. Everything went well with it. Coolest thing I did, if you guys care, is we did a scuba dive. That was like a 40-foot scuba dive. So there were some nice
Jeez.
pictures that I still need to get them from my dad, but the people we were diving with, since it was like more of a private thing, he just had a GoPro down there, so he would take pictures every once in a while. So there's some cool photos of us underwater, which is really nice. But just a good relaxing time. Everybody in my family had fun. Couple of jellyfish stings, which is not fun, but nothing really you can do about that.
Who peed on
There
you?
is
Somebody
there
peed
is
on you?
something. Yeah.
Yep, it
What,
works.
actually? Oh, wow.
Just
Wow.
I'm straight up. It does. But we had a good time, and I actually didn't watch anything throughout the week. I thought about doing it just like at nighttime when everyone went to bed. I just ended up sleeping, lots of relaxing, which was really nice, resting up. But I spent the whole like travel, plane ride back home, car ride, everything was just like watching stuff because I had not caught up on Andor fully, and then The Last of Us, and then even yesterday you guys were just like, "Oh, we're gonna do Rogue One," and I'm like, I guess I'm watching Rogue One tonight because that's the only time that I can do it is to stay up and watch it. So crammed in a lot just in these last few days with travel and then getting back just to be caught up, which is a really great feeling. Now I feel more on top of it because I don't know, with how many shows we've been getting, it feels like I've mostly just been trying to keep up with the newest episodes of the TV shows and the newest movie releases that are coming out. Because when you have 4 or 5 new episodes of television coming out on a weekly basis, it's just a lot for me to keep up with, which hopefully that changes. I mean, that will change for a couple reasons. One, we're not going to be as heavy into shows. Like, we're not going to have 2 or 3 concurrent here in the next couple of months. We'll have consistent ones, but just not as many happening at the same time. But then 2, I also my schedule is freeing up a bit. I had my final exam today for my class, so I'm done, which is really nice. frees up my Thursdays as well as any time throughout the week that I would usually be studying. So lots of good things. I'm excited to get into summer already. Just like I can go back to watching movies the night that they actually come out because my Thursdays are finally freed up and I haven't done that all semester. So I literally have been planning ahead with like Mission Impossible, Ballerina, How to Train Your Dragon. I already have like I'm about to buy tickets for literally all of them.
Slot the bear in there somewhere too, because
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, like when my time opens up, that and X-Men, they've been on my list, and
I forgot you used to haven't seen X-Men.
I tried to start it. There was just way too much happening. But they both are at the forefront of what I want to watch and catch up on. So the Bear, doesn't that release next month?
It's an easy. Yeah. It is a very easy watch. Like you can get through all of season 1 in 4 hours.
Okay,
that's it. And then season 2 is the same, maybe like 9 hours, or no, not 9 hours. Season 2 is probably like what 5-6 hours, and then season 3 same thing. They're just 30-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad then.
Yeah, they are dropping all 10 episodes on June 25th, which I'm kind of scared. They're dropping all 10.
Jeez,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
They're dropping all 10 that day. Which, granted, I mean you could watch it in 5 hours. I can't remember if I think they did do the same thing 3? The last 2 seasons. Yeah, I think all 3.
Oh,
did
really?
They not?
Okay.
I don't ever remember it being weekly.
Season 1 I didn't watch until like a month after it came out, so to me it could have been like they had already all come out anyway. But
yeah,
once you say that, it kind of makes me think that maybe they did.
I watched after season 2 came out, and I remember it was quite a bit, or not quite a bit, like not that long after season 2 came out, where I was like, okay, season 2 has come out. It's good. Everyone's telling me it's good. I'll watch it. And I remember just like binging it. I wasn't like, all right, I'm on episode 6. I got to wait for the rest of the episodes to drop. So I want to say, yeah, same thing with 3. But yeah, all 10 episodes coming out June 25th.
Wow.
That's the 4th year in a row, right? That they've
dropped a season every year. Somebody
and
said
they haven't
today
said
on
if
Twitter,
it's the final season. Somebody
on Twitter said today that there will have been 4 new seasons of The Bear before 1 new season of Stranger Things.
That's great.
Yeah,
it is an easy show to film, I assume. I mean,
sure.
You're on like what 3 locations. I mean, every now and then some other ones.
I mean, that shows
hardly
like,
any effects or anything.
It mostly relies on the writing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except there's a VFX bear at the beginning of the intro. That's it. The first 2 minutes of the first episode.
Yeah, I was gonna. It doesn't help that it's dropping all at once, because I was gonna say I could do kind of what Aiden did, where I like am slowly catching up, like with Andor, and then I accelerate into this new season that's dropping, but that won't work.
Yeah.
So, I'll do my best. I'll definitely keep that on the top of my brain.
And spoilers is gonna suck too. I mean, just people are gonna watch it all in one sitting the day it comes out, but then other people aren't. And so, like, I don't know. It comes out on a Wednesday. It really just depends on how much I'm able to fit in that night. And I mean, I have to watch it with my fiance because I showed her the first 3 seasons, and now I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna have to like dance around when she's available because I can't watch. So I'm like, but I'm like active in discussions about the show, so we'll see.
Yeah. With that being said, we are going to move into some fun little list updates. Charlie, do you have that sheet pulled up?
Yes, I do. I'm always prepared, Benji. Come on, you know me, man.
So a couple of things that are notable. My Andor score did drop by 1 point because it went down from a 98 critic score to a 97. And then Charlie's The Last of Us has. Wait, is this with the drop?
No, I haven't.
Point?
I haven't changed my total yet.
Okay, so Charlie.
So I'm sitting at 11. Oh wait, no, I have. That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So The Last of Us season 2 currently is sitting at a 95% from the critics, which gains him 3 points, but the audience score has dropped to a 39, which is a negative 3 points, meaning that for The Last of Us Season 2, Charlie gets 0 points.
Right now, and if it goes lower, then I start
There's
losing points.
There's
I mean,
no
I was
way.
already losing
No
points,
way
but
that
it starts taking. Dude, I don't know, bro, because listen, I'm not trying to. I don't want to get into The Last of Us in this section of the podcast. We're going to talk about it towards the end, but like, I don't know, man. I know what I said a couple weeks ago about maybe it could go, but like, dude, like every episode, it's just gotten worse. Almost, it's just gotten worse. Okay, like I can't even be mad at people for what.
I was going to ask if you think this is just like the overreaction from fans, or if it's bled into now like actual.
Hold on, Nathan. Hold on, because it's. I would say it's both. It's an overreaction of haters of the original game, of the part 2 game, and rightfully so, people that are fans of the game and maybe are disappointed with the show. So, I mean, when you have, I was doomed from the start with woke. So, like, I was doomed. But I'm sure, I haven't looked at it recently, but I'm sure that there's other more nuanced takes on why they don't like the show as it continues. But.
Yeah.
Bummer, man. Bummer. I can't believe I didn't foresee this. Like, I didn't have winning on my mind when I picked that as my number 1 pick, bro.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't have that backstory that you did, knowing about the controversy in the game and whatnot. So solely based off of Season 1, I thought it was a great pick because, just based off of that, I expected another high quality season. But it seems like even you guys are a little upset at how things are going. So
I think Aiden more so than me, but again, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that a bit later.
Beefing with me on Twitter and shit over here, this guy.
So for Charlie, his total is now at 20 points overall. The only project left is Wake Up Dead Man, the third Knives Out film that comes out later this year. Other than that, all of his projects have been released. We'll keep an eye out. Potentially Sinners could go up or down a point depending on either the critic or the audience score, because they're both on that line threshold of either gaining or losing a point. Thunderbolts is probably going to stay pretty steady. Invincible probably will stay pretty steady, unless there's an influx of people.
I think Sinners. I don't think it's on the verge of losing a point. It's at 97 and 96. So like,
but if
it's closer to it's closer to gaining a point than losing a point. I'd have to lose 7%.
The 97. Oh right, I'm forgetting.
Yeah,
for some reason
that
I think that
97 always. Yeah, it always.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're closer to gaining a point. You will probably not lose a point from it. And then Invincible is probably going to stay pretty steady unless there's like an influx of people that watch it towards the end of the year in preparation for if there's a season coming out next February or something.
Then
and then you don't know.
They probably will announce it towards the end of the year. Too.
Literally one negative review would throw that off so much.
Because there's not very many. There's not very many.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, it probably won't. I mean, I don't see why it would get a negative review, but we'll keep an eye out on it. And then there's a couple of updates for my list. Aiden still doesn't have anything just because his projects are later in the year in comparison to Charlie and I. The first little update is the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning score, at least the initial critic score, has come out, and it is currently an 82% of 131 reviews. And I'm a little confused by this because even just looking at the last couple Mission Impossible movies, you're looking at like 94%, 98%, 96% for the last movie. And so when you have this movie come out, it's like I kind of assumed that they had found their groove, they knew what they were doing, and that this would just be another entry into that franchise. It's the same team of people, and they were making this basically at the same time as they were making Dead Reckoning. This was the plan all along. Originally, this was Dead Reckoning Part 2. It just got a title change because it's probably the final Mission Impossible. And so to me, this was like an obvious, like, it's going to be in the 90s, easy bag, whatever. And then I see the score drop, and then it's just gotten lower and lower. And there's like a chance that it goes into the 70s, which like for a modern day Mission Impossible is like ridiculous. And I don't know. I'm a little confused by it, but I think what's happening is that this movie does hit on certain things just based on some of the early reactions saying the action scenes are out of this world. They are incredible. The stunts, like that is there. Of course, that was going to be there. We expect that with modern day Tom Cruise and the movies that he produces. But just that it focuses almost too much on that and it neglects some of the other things, which is like such a weird issue to have because even just the last few Mission Impossible movies, the action and stunts, they're all there, but there is such a good focus on story and the character dynamics, at least to make it enticing enough and to draw you in enough to care about what's happening. And it feels like this, they kind of like fumbled that. And it still is great action and whatnot, but that the rest of it is just not as good as what we usually expect from this franchise. So as much as I hate that, like, okay, this isn't in the 90s, so I'm not getting as many points as I expected, I'm also just a little upset in general if this is actually how this turns out for the final Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's very true. I for one, I just want to say that a lot of glazing was happening when Ben put his list out, and I was one of the only ones that saw through the lie, that saw through the veil. I saw how this was gonna crumble from the beginning, and I'm glad to see it coming to fruition. Now I just need Ballerina to flop too. Ballerina just needs to come out and be an absolute flop. All the early reactions were wrong. They didn't know what they were talking about.
Well, I mean, it's also like, Charlie, you're getting a little too comfortable over there because, I mean, you basically have 4 picks. Like, well, I mean, you still
Not
have
basically,
your 5
bro.
picks. You still have your 5 picks because Invincible Season 3 being at an unrealistic 9 in terms of like our grading, being at so high of a 9, I mean, it might as well be like a 5 and a 4 because the Season 3 or because The Last of Us is a 0. So, I mean, it's basically all even for all of us. Like, you have Ben with 4, 2, 5, and then Charlie, let's say you split Invincible Season 3 with like The Last of Us. Then Charlie, you have 5, 4, 5, 6. Like, I don't know. It's still anybody's game, honestly. Mickey 17 and Mission Impossible hurt both of us, but it is above 0. So I don't know. It kind of brought you back down a little bit closer to us. You still have the advantage just because of how high Invincible Season 3 is, but you have just put yourself in our reach, buddy.
Don't remind me, man. Come on. I don't want to be reminded of that.
And I think the final thing for a list update is I think it's time.
I told you. What did I tell you, Charlie? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I texted him, Ben, when we started
right as we started.
And I said, as soon as we started recording, I texted him and I said, what are the odds Ben tries to shock us tonight and drops Superman?
It's not a shock. I kind of alluded to it, I think, over text at one point. But I've been considering dropping Superman for a while. I mean, I think the critic score will easily be in the 80s or 90s, and that's good. The audience score, I'm really worried about it just because there's going to be similar to The Last of Us, but probably not as extreme. There's going to be a big crowd of Snyder fans that are going to actively just be hating on this movie no matter what. And so it's realistic. The audience score could drop to the 60s or 50s or maybe even lower. And I just can't really take that risk. So as much as like that is the thing that I'm super, super excited for, I just can't do it.
My gosh. Hey, this is the second time this list, like all season, that a number 1 pick has been dropped.
Yeah.
That's true. I should have dropped my number one pick.
Dude, look at us. We had horrible like like our number one picks were so bad, like for our own respect.
I think you had the best one though, Aiden, as in terms of like score wise. Like I think
mean,
that
yeah, but
yours was gonna be the best. Would have been.
It's scary. I don't know.
Yeah. With that being said, I've been debating a lot about what do I want to substitute for Superman, and there's been a lot of ideas that I've been considering. Obviously, How to Train Your Dragon was on my mind. A lot of stuff later in the year that's kind of just a bit unknown at this point. Thought about Avatar, to be honest. I thought about
Can we guess before you pick? Can we guess like our like two guesses of what we think?
Yeah, I don't think you'll guess, but you can. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, right now? You want to guess? Okay. I think it'll be either if you're going for a straight winning strategy, if you're going for winning, if you're giving for winning or like and also like what you think will be a good movie, which I don't know, I could be completely wrong. We haven't talked about this movie yet together. I think F1 is in play. Kaczynski, we just talked about Top Gun Maverick, same guy that did Top Gun Maverick. F1 movie. I feel like all the car people out there are finally going to get their representation that's not a Fast and Furious or Gran Turismo. Could be in play. Or if you want to go just straight point bait right here, Lilo and Stitch.
He's not. Nah, there's no way he's doing that.
Charlie, any predictions?
I don't think I have two. I mean, obviously, I would have said How to Train Your Dragon, but the fact that you just said that we wouldn't guess it makes me doubt that. So I threw this out to Aiden. Can't remember if it was on the podcast last week, but I feel like I remember you being like somewhat of a horror sicko, like somewhat, not like crazy horror sicko. So then I was like, that new Weapons movie. I was like, maybe that might be some that he's starting to type. Bro. Like, come on, I don't want to give him ideas.
He's looking up Zach Krager's.
I wanted to look up Barbarian.
Yeah, and that's the other thing because I knew you liked Barbarian a lot. So I think that that's a potential contender, but. Now the fact that you just you looked it up, I don't think so.
Well, Aiden, you hit it right on the money. You hit it
F1?
right on the money. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it. Yeah.
F1 the movie, which comes out in June 27th. So my list is ending a couple weeks sooner than I originally had with Superman. But it's the F1 movie starring Brad Pitt, directed by Joseph Kosinski, who most recently did Top Gun Maverick. Yeah. Which Top Gun Maverick, I mean, if you look at the score for Top Gun Maverick, you are looking at a 96.99 from audience, which is absolutely incredible.
With 50,000 verified ratings. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm kind of expecting and hoping a similar type of story. To be honest, this looks very much like Top Gun Maverick, where you take a veteran actor, Tom Cruise, but now Brad Pitt, and then there's kind of a newer, fresher face, and he's kind of training him up, and it involves some sort of vehicle stunts. In this case, it's F1 versus the fighter jets and whatnot. So it really just feels like it could be a very similar movie, and if they actually put effort into doing the stunts for real, some really cool cinematography within those, I guess, call them action sequences or whatever, the thrilling sequences. And then if they also had a nice grounded story underneath that, I think we could be looking at a similar case. There's also a chance that this is just like a fine movie that ends up in the 70s and people like it and it's not that great. I'm really banking that Joseph Kosinski has another hitter in him, and it wasn't just like mainly Tom Cruise and them doing the stunts for real that carried Top Gun Maverick. I'm hoping that's not the case, and that we'll see another really good high quality movie.
I mean, dude, Brad Pitt, Carrie Condon, Javier Bardem. And I don't know his name. I never watched. What's the show? What's the freaking name of the
Snowfall?
show? Snowfall. Damson Idris. Is that the same, or is that someone else I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it's the
He
same
was
guy.
in Snowfall. I mean, that's a freaking loaded cast, dude. That is a very loaded cast, and those are all amazing actors. Carrie Condon, Charlie, I'm sure you know this, but I just have to shout it out because we were talking about it earlier. Better Call Saul. I mean, come on, man. Come on, my boy. Yeah, dude. I think it's a great pick. I was looking at the upcoming movies, and I saw F1, and the reason I shouted it out to you was because I was like, if I were in the position, that's the one I would choose 100%.
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch it's just gonna do numbers. People are gonna love it. Audience is gonna love it. You're gonna get a really high audience scores. But if you're going for like a mix of a movie that you'll look back and be like, I'm proud I put that on my list, whether it was a winner or not,
Yeah.
F1 is the way to go. I think it's a great pick.
Yeah. And we'll be able to see because, we'll compare what F1 gets me versus what I would have gotten for Superman. So we'll be able to see if this is something I regret, but just really hoping. And the reason I didn't think you guys would guess it is just because we haven't talked about it at all. Like, there's been no discussion. So I didn't really think it would be on your guys' mind, especially also since it's like comes out next month. And we hadn't talked about it. I just didn't think that you guys would think of it.
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye out on it because it's one of those movies that I'm like, oh man, that one could be a very like a summer sleeper, and I'm very excited for it. We've just had so much other stuff to catch up and talk about that it slipped my mind, but yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, we'll see if it pays off once we get that movie in a couple months, which means that I will be completely done with my list by the end of June. At least, like, with initial scores, and things can always go up and down a little bit. But still, that's crazy because that's in like 6 weeks. Yeah. And then I'll just be done, and I'll just be riding along, waiting to see if things go up or down, and hoping and praying that my scores at least stay steady. Which I mean, I'll be glad about that, I think, because I'll definitely be able to see how well I fare up against Charlie going into Wake Up Dead Man, and basically we can know like what he needs in order to compete with wherever my total is, if he even has to compete, because he's already pretty far ahead.
You're only 9 behind right now, bro, and you still got 2 projects.
I'll get points for Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Mission
Audience,
Impossible, yeah.
Which that should be in the 80s, if not hopefully the 90s. A couple more points. And then F1, yeah, that could land another 4 or 5 points, and then I'll be right up there, right up next to you. So then it'll be pretty close going into. Wait, I have Ballerina as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so y'all, it'll be like 21-20 with both of y'all having one more project left. Oh no, you'll have Ballerina. I'm sorry, that's what you just said. Yeah, so I mean, he'll have one.
So I'll be ahead by a couple, and then you'll know like what you need basically. So I think hopefully I'll be happy with the spot that I'm in, as long as
I don't see Wake Up Dead Man getting high 90s in either.
Oh, I think so. I think both will be both. I think it'll be like Sinners, where you have a possibility of being like a 98 something else, or at the very lowest like 94. I think so. Look at the other Knives Out movies. I mean, they're
like low to mid 90s, aren't they?
Oh, I mean, if you're talking about
was the last one.
Knives Out has it. Knives Out was
97, 92. Audience score very high.
I think you're locked in for 2 90s. If I had to say right now, I don't know about. If you were talking about like a 98, 99, I don't know, probably not, or like 100%, probably not. But I think you're for sure locked in for 6 points right there.
Yeah. Now, also technically, Charlie, you have a switch, because your Sinner switch was not by choice. It was just because Michael got delayed. So you can at some point.
And that's the thing. I've been thinking about this, but I don't think, especially with you taking F1, like I don't see anything else being like a close to a guaranteed 90 like Wake Up Dead Man might be, you know. So
Yeah.
like
sure there's
I would say maybe the weapon, because there's a lot of hyper and excitement around that movie, and there's like the rumors, or maybe it was confirmed, I don't know, about Jordan Peele wanting to buy it so bad and yada yada yada. But I still, even with all of that, like that doesn't give me the faith that it's going to be
Yeah.
high 90s kind of project. So
I think it'll be a bit controversial. Probably like some people will be really into it and some people won't. Kind of like Barbarian, but maybe he'll decide to lean a little bit more mainstream with it. But I agree. Like looking forward, there's some that you could say that they're safe picks to be in the 80s, maybe 90s, but there's not a lot of like really good picks that like feel super safe. So
yeah,
hoping that a Knives Out movie is similar to the first two is probably your best bet.
yeah,
that
unless you're,
Last of Us is a pain in the ass, dude.
dude.
I know that's eating you up.
That's just like that was just a pick from the heart, bro. And like I did not think about it. Like I should have thought about it, but whatever.
Yeah.
We live with the choices we make.
Well said. I think that does it for list updates, which means that we can move on to talking about Andor season 2. We got the final 3 episodes, the final arc of this season, and of the entire show that leads up into Rogue One. Um, we'll start just by talking about Andor stuff, and then we'll talk about Rogue One after that. I haven't talked about Andor season 2 since the first 3 episodes that came out, and
Yeah.
even then we were kind of shaky on how we were discussing it, just because we were all at different points. So I don't really think that I've like fully talked about my thoughts on this season.
Really, any of it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll start and be very brief on like stuff 1 through 9 before we get into the final arc. And having listened to your guys' episode, I got a lot of insight on your guys' thoughts, and what a show. What a freaking show. Like I know you said this multiple times, Charlie, that like Aiden and I have to be so giddy that we're getting good Star Wars, but it's true. Like I watched Revenge of the Sith for the 20th anniversary. And like as much as I have viewed that in such a nostalgic and positive way, rewatching it now, some of that nostalgia like was gone in a weird way, and I was kind of just like, it's like a 7 out of 10. Like it's it's a pretty good movie, but it's not this like, I don't hold it in such a high regard as I do when I just think about like the nostalgia or the memories that I have of my love for that movie growing up with the prequels. It's changed now that I'm older and I have a different view of it. And so I watch it, I'm just like, this might have been my favorite Star Wars project before, and now like I don't really want to rewatch it again anytime soon.
Damn.
Like I'll see you for the 30th anniversary, I guess. That's truly how I felt, which is really weird to say. And it I think I've had this perspective. I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but I've had this perspective about franchises in general. Like even with Marvel, I'm rewatching through the Marvel universe with my wife just because she had only seen it through one time, and we decided to do it again. And as we've watched some of these movies, I'm just like, that is not as good as I thought it was from the last time that I watched it.
Avengers 1? Because you gave me a lot of flack for Thunderbolts, for saying Thunderbolts was, and Aiden had it above Avengers 1 as well. You gave us a lot of flack for that.
I would still have Avengers 1 above it.
Okay, all right.
But like,
all right.
okay, we just watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and that dropped for me a little bit. My score for the movie dropped, and I think there's just like a certain, when you grow up with a franchise, you have an inherent love for it. No matter what is coming out, you're excited to watch it. You're excited to sit down in the theater. You just have this automatic connection to it. But I think because we've had these franchises like Marvel and Star Wars that have kind of faltered over the last few years, that now you look at it in a bit of a different lens. You don't have this inherent love. And so I think you have a more, I don't know if realistic is the best way to put it, but you don't have that same view of it that you automatically just kind of boost your scores or have a higher viewing of it because it's in a franchise you love. And I used to have that with Star Wars and with Marvel. And so now I feel like rewatching it, I'm just watching them just as movies and judging it solely based on that. And so I've had a different perspective on some of those things. All of that is to say, Andor is great. I don't care. Take away the fact that it's a Star Wars show. It doesn't matter. Like, I love the franchise of Star Wars, but that is not what is driving my excitement and love for how great this show has been. Andor season 2, the first 9 episodes, absolutely incredible. I agree with what you guys were talking about, how it's a very back-heavy show, and the first 6 episodes are a lot of setup. They're a bit slower paced. I still really enjoyed episodes 4, 5, and 6, and 1, 2, and 3, but I saw those quite a while ago. Mm-hmm. I still enjoyed the front half of the show, but it does feel like it lost a little bit of momentum because we had built up so much momentum in season 1. And I think when I first talked about it, I said, like, I was hoping, since we had already built to that point, that we could just continue the momentum into season 2. And instead it felt like they were still kind of finding their footing, and then it slowed the pace down to build it up again, which, like, you can't be go, go, go all the time, but it definitely left a little to be desired in the first 6 episodes. Still love everything that they were doing. There's a character, I want to make sure that I get his name correct. There's a character that I want to bring up that we haven't talked about, and it's not like he's a huge character or anything,
Brasso.
But no, not Brasso. He's the ISB Partagaz, Major Partagaz.
Partagaz, yeah.
So I didn't hear you guys talk about him, and I didn't bring him up when we talked about season 1 either. But I just want to highlight the way that they have handled the ISB and the amount of world building that we get into who they are and how they interact with one another is phenomenal. The way that he commands a room, walks into a meeting, and has expectations for his officers, and the way that he responds to them, and he's very just on point, just has this certain threatening presence about him. I think that, like, what Andor did with that regard was so incredible in showcasing that and giving that way more depth than I would have thought that I could have expected from learning about the ISB. Just like a little minor thing that I wanted to throw out there. I think he had more, like, you got a little bit more of that with him in season 1, and in season 2, we've obviously focused a lot more on Dedra and Cyril and whatnot, but still, just incredible the way that they've developed the ISB, and you understand more of where they're coming from. It's great when a show can show you both sides and also what the in-between looks like, and kind of teeter that line between the two, and just build everything into the story is done incredibly well. I wanted to throw that out there just because, like, I thought about it last week when I had watched one of the episodes. I was just like, dude, we haven't talked about him, and he just commands a room. Not just with his, like, acting presence, but also just how they write his character.
Crazy bro is just sitting there on a beach and just thinking about party gas. Like, that's crazy. Talk about a glaze, bro. Talk about a glaze.
No, but it's everyone in the show, the way that they're written. I mean, Luthen, I feel like you could just write down his entire dialogue, and it's like,
he is a walking poem.
It's literally, my gosh, like, it's crazy how well written all these characters are. But getting into the real meat and potatoes, which is the arc of episode 7, 8, and 9, the Gorman Massacre. My gosh, I mean, you guys said it, that, like, this is some of the best Star Wars stuff you've ever seen, and for me, like, I think there was, like, my excitement. I do think this was, like, the best block of Andor that we got was 7, 8, and 9. I think that's definitely true. But for, like, a different reason than why I loved, like, episodes 9 and 10 from the first season. Because 9 and 10 from the first season, like, it was an incredible writing and storytelling, but there was also this just, like, pure adrenaline and excitement of the prison escape, and that fueled it as well. And this was like entirely fueled by the writing and the dynamics to lead up to these moments with Cassian and Cyril and everything that happened on Gorman and the Gorman massacre, all of the character interactions with one another, and then leading into episode 9 with everything with Mon Mothma and her speech, dude, and the escape from the Senate, just like so incredible, absolutely incredible. I won't linger on some of this stuff too long because like everything you guys said, I absolutely agree with wholeheartedly. Like you guys hit the nail on the coffin when it comes to talking about just like how well written and how incredible that block of Andor was. So up through 9, just like great stuff, and definitely made season 2 compete with season 1. I would say there's like, I know the first 6, I wouldn't say that season 2 was competing, but then by the time we get through 9, it absolutely was, in my opinion.
What about episode 3 for you? Because Aiden was really bouncing on that last week.
I love that episode a lot.
Episode 3, jog my memory a little bit. It's been a while.
The reason I like it so much, I'll kind of just keep glazing it a little bit more because I rewatched it actually after we uploaded the episode. It's called Harvest. It's Cassian had just left Yavin, and he has that conversation with Clea, where he finds out comms are down at where Bix and all of them are, and he just immediately flies over there. We have that big action sequence with the stormtroopers, Brasso sacrificing his life. Brasso also, we didn't talk about this, Charlie. Brasso also telling that farmer, "You sold me out. I know it was you," so that he could save him. Yeah. Like kind of covering for him, because then we see at the end of episode 12, that's the only reason why that character is allowed to be there on that planet. Like it's just like that through line. Anyways,
kind of threw me off. I want to say it threw me off a little bit because I thought like, oh, did he actually give him up? But then I thought about it more.
Well, even just watching it back, like the farmer like kind of like smiles and then takes it back real fast, like, oh man, like that's really noble of you. Anyways, so you have that. You also have Luthen and Mon Mothma at the wedding where he tells her, you know the price, and she's like, I don't know what you're saying. He's like, how nice for you. And then we see Vel and Cinta back. She sees Cinta for the first time, sees that she's been a hitman for Luthen. We get that through line, and then to end it off with the horrible scene with Bix and the ISB agent, combined with Mon Mothma dancing and getting drunk at her daughter's wedding because she just has to drown that out because she knows that if she doesn't, the rebellion is on the line. It is on the line. And so she just has to dance it away, get drunk out of her mind. And then that is spliced up with Andor saving Bix and Wilman and taking out all those stormtroopers to get out of there. I think it's a phenomenal episode.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Upon reflection, I was just looking at the episodes. Even just when you said Harvest, I started to remember what the episode was about. Yeah. I would say that was true for both of the first 2 arcs, where like I really liked episode 3 and I really liked episode 6. It was kind of the first 2 in each arc that were not as good, and then episode 6 obviously leads into 7, 8, and 9. But I definitely agree with that. Like, I still really enjoyed the front half of the season. Lots of great moments. It's really just like the pacing of it, lots of building blocks, which are necessary, but it just felt a bit slower. They were finding their footing. And then we did get those episodes that stood out amongst the rest. So I definitely agree with that. Yeah. So I want to hear from Mr. Charles about episodes 10, 11, and 12. And specifically, I want you to touch on something with 12, because you had not seen Rogue One, and we're not going to talk about that yet.
Sure.
But I want you to talk about how did it feel ending this series where it did? And obviously, you know that you're going into Rogue One, but still just not knowing what happens in Rogue One, where you kind of felt the story was leading to based on what you knew.
Yeah. Starting with episode 10, though. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Speaking of Luthen, and like, dude, like, excuse me, I adore the line that he says to Dedra. He's like, the rebellion's gone, like it's far away from here now. And then he said, "There's an entire galaxy out there waiting to disgust you." Oh my god, dude, that was so fire. I was up, bro. I was up at that moment. Like, dude, that is, I can't get enough of that, man. I mean, combining that with his speech from season 1 to Lonnie, obviously, and all the other things like we've already talked about. He, as Aiden said, he's a walking poem. But and then was it that episode that Clay? No, because that was like the flashback episode, wasn't it? Episode 10. I guess we're just gonna go full spoilers, by the way, for anybody who's concerned.
Yeah.
So yeah, episode 10 was the flashback episode. I did still enjoy it, and I liked like the little flashback pieces. And it was cool to see. I'm not normally a big lover of flashback stuff, but I did enjoy a lot, like what the things that Luthen was teaching Clea, and like seeing that through line with her character throughout those points, and like how he even tried to like still nurture her in a way, like with the I don't know the name of the planet, but the bomb that he blew up on the bridge, and
Naboo, baby.
Naboo.
That was Naboo.
Yeah. Oh, these guys, bro, these nerds, man.
that's where Anakin
and Padme, they get married.
Yes, man. Yeah. Come on, it's Naboo. One of my favorite planets in all of Star Wars.
All right, buddy, we know. Look at your shirt. But the way he told her to not look at it, and then he blew it up, and then had her look at it. Like, I don't know, like small things like that. And he's honest with her. He's honest about the fact that I lie, get over it. Like I'm going to lie to you. Like there's gonna be some things like that. Good episode, but dude, I mean, I'm a huge, like, this show has been money for me with just like the espionage aspect of it. And oh my gosh, bro, watching Clea get all the way up to the 19th floor of that hospital, bro. I was so in, bro. It was so sick, man. Every little thing that she did to sneak her way up, and oh my gosh, man, I can't get enough of it. And then to have the little moment of her slowly pulling the plug on Luthen, man, and then her like kissing him goodbye, dude.
I was
kissing
in
him
tears.
On the forehead goodbye. I want to clarify that.
I was in tears, man.
So good. Dude.
No,
so good.
Just because you mentioned it with the flashbacks, I just thought the way this episode did it was so incredible, because it's like, as she's trying to work through these different levels and get to Luthen, and we know what she has to do, and that's already just like has so much weight to it. And so as we're like advancing through that, we're also advancing through her relationship with him and learning more about that. And I get that it's like you're establishing that as you're about to get rid of him. I just thought it was done so tastefully for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I also love the symbolism of her being that, again, like this whole show is the rebellion. It's that light. Even Luthen, and one of my favorite speeches in all of Star Wars, of him telling Lonnie, "I burn my decency." I can't remember what he says, but it's something along the lines of, "I burn my life, or I burn my decency for a sunrise I know I'll never get to see." And Clea gets to see that sunrise. Like, he passes that torch on to her, and she gets to like keep his legend alive through her eyes, and to just have that, like Ben said, have that build up over the entire episode, over this one mission that she has to go on, to have such an unceremonious, if I'm using that word correctly, death for Luthen, this huge figure who has been so prominent throughout this whole show. He didn't go out in a sacrifice or a standoff or like in an explosion. He died in a hospital bed, and that's it. Like, I think that's such a cool way, because it just drives home the point of the little man. Like, it's not, this big last ditch effort to blow up the Death Star and like, sacrifice your life for the rebellion. I mean, he gave it all, and he pushed everything forward as much as he could. He put the information where it needs to be, and he dies on a hospital bed. I think it's so beautiful. It's so tasteful. I love what Ben said. I love it. It's done so tasteful. And to see where Clea gets left off at by the end of this, where we have people like I keep dancing around, whatever, we're gonna spoil. We have like Bix at the end of episode 12, but then we also have Clea, like two people that get to see that sunrise. Oh my god. And I think I think that point, driving that point home with this episode, I'm all for it.
And then Bix and Cassian's kid gets to see that sunlight taken away from them in the sequels later on.
well, look. So you brought up the point. I thought this would be cool to just bring up, because I had talked to Brandon about it, where you had said, well, like all of this just for another group to be brought back up in the sequels. Mm-hmm. And Brandon was like, does that not happen in real life? Like, is that not? And I was like,
absolutely.
That's a great point. I mean, but I also was like, well, that's Charlie's big welcome into what we've been dealing with the past 10 years.
But I mean, Charlie, you could just act like after episode 6 that nothing.
That's happens. What I do. That's what I do.
Watch The Mandalorian. Genuinely. You could watch The Mandalorian.
Oh
that's after episode 6, but episode 7 doesn't exist.
No, the sequels do not exist in my mind. I stand by that. I hate to be that person, but genuinely, bro,
you'll just be happier if you think that way.
It's just better.
Yeah, I do agree and see what Brandon is saying. I guess I don't know there, and I'm also not one to say to like rip out any sort of reality from fiction. I think that's what grounds it, and that's what makes it relatable and understandable and empathetic. But I don't know, bro. Like it's so crazy to see it. It's almost like they know that this was better in a way. And when I say they, I'm talking about so many different people involved with both the original trilogy and Andor and Rogue One and the prequel. Maybe not so much the prequels, but there's just so much being put into building the universe around this specific time period in the Star Wars universe. With the exception of Mando. Mando and Grogu they're getting their own movie, so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, Rogue One being a movie that came out in 2016, and then now we've gotten 2 seasons of a show of essentially side/main character in Rogue One. But again, we'll talk about that movie later. Just to build all of that, to build all of these characters and make this such a poetic thing and a just thing and a very tasteful thing, as Benjamin said. And then just to have like to imagine later on that like all of these people could come together and the rest of the galaxy just forgets. Like, and I also want to say, as I say that, I do think that there was a better way to have it. And also, when I'm saying this, I it's been a long time since I've seen the sequels, because again, I'm not a Star Wars guy, so maybe I should watch those before I speak on this really. But I just think that there probably was a better way to write around, not even around it, but write that idea of and I know I'm getting on a spiel about the sequels now, like I'm a seasoned Star Wars fan, but I do think that there's a better way to write that, to write like sort of the fall back into the tyranny and the overruling fist of the order. Is that what they're called? Order. The First Order. Thank you. Like I think that there's a better way that they could have done that, and when you get things like, and I don't know if this is the kind of explanation as to how the First Order came into power, because again, it's been a long time, but like I think of like the somehow Palpatine returned kind of writing, and like because that was J.J. Abrams, right? Like he did 7, then he came back for Skywalker Saga.
So he did 7.
Not Saga, sorry.
He did 7, which was The Force Awakens, and then they let Rian Johnson, the Knives Out guy, do The Last Jedi, episode 8. And basically what happened is like there was apparently a plan that J.J. Abrams had for like a trilogy And then I don't even know all the backstory of what happened creatively, but he got replaced by Rian Johnson, who screwed a bunch of stuff up and did a bunch of different stuff with the story. And so then Abrams was brought back in and just made it work with what he had. Not to say that like that's entirely to blame, because you still don't have to do some BS like somehow Palpatine returned. You don't have to do that necessarily. But still, I know that there was a lot that happened creatively between those two as they just passed along movies in a trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's for me, like, I don't know, because obviously the sequels take place like a decent amount removed from the original trilogy, like Han Solo being as old as he is and whatever. Like there could be something to be said of like the next generation like forgetting, and or maybe like the old age of the rebellion didn't do a good job of instilling the ideals that they had into their kids, and like that's how the First Order came to be. My point being is there's probably a really good way of writing it and having it be like a really compelling thing to sort of match that level. And maybe it's a little bit unfair of me to say, maybe who's to say that they couldn't do like a TV show in the sequel era like this that would enhance it in some way. And I really hope that that's the case, because I love this, and I'd love to love that stuff too. So, but that's enough of my spiel with the sequels. To go into your question, Ben, about my thoughts with episode 12 specifically and how it ended. I was definitely like, I was still excited. Like I was bummed that the show was over because I love the show so much. And I was also simultaneously worried because I hadn't really heard much of anything about Rogue One, in terms of like whether it was universally liked or not universally, but just liked or disliked. And so I was worried about maybe Cassian not feeling the same, even though I know Tony Gilroy worked on Rogue One. I knew that beforehand as well. But I don't know. I was worried about Cassian not feeling the same, and I was worried about the focus being lost. But I do think that they did a good job of setting up what the focus of Rogue One was. I mean, I guess they knew that beforehand because this season 2 came out so far after. But yeah. I think that the goal in mind was it was set in stone, and it genuinely did feel like a continuation. It was kind of like if I was imagining that Rogue One was just another episode of Andor, it was almost like that, like with the fact that they mentioned Galen Erso, and then the very first scene of Rogue One is meeting Galen Erso and Jyn Erso, and whatnot. So like that in that aspect, I think like sure, like I think that's pretty cool, and I was still in. It was like almost like maybe I was starting another season of Andor is probably the best way to put it, rather than just another episode of season 2. It was like the beginning of a new season and meeting that person that they were so hell-bent on finding at the end of episode 12. And I love like the little nod as well with as he's I know it's been getting a little bit of hate on Twitter right now of maybe not hate, but just they're acknowledging that it's like a corny thing for him to just be slow-mo walking on the flight pad. But
hey, let him. He can do no wrong in my eyes. He is him.
And he looks over at the Force healer from like episode 5, and just gives her a little nod, and it's like, and then I believe shortly after that it cuts over to Bix and like and their kid and everything like that. And so I don't know. I thought it was very nice and very, very like, oh, like cool, like way to end it. But like I also knew about Cassian in Rogue One, so it was kind of just like a little bit of a gut punch as well. Maybe not so much because I didn't know exactly how, but yeah, I think overall going into Rogue One, like it didn't feel too alienating, is the best way I can put it. Like Cassian did end up feeling like Cassian, maybe like a little bit more brutal. Like I was taken aback, and I don't want to get too far into Rogue One. I know we're gonna have our own discussion about that, but it was a little bit like the guy that he goes to meet in Kafrene. He's just awesome right then and there. That's not entirely out of his character, but it's just like I was like. I feel like I hadn't seen him do that sort of thing in a minute, aside from like the getting Mon Mothma out of the Senate, but or out of Coruscant in general. But yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mon Mothma and whatnot, real quick before I end my thoughts, I am incredibly bummed, and I actually want to ask you guys this when I'm done with my spiel. I'm incredibly bummed that like won't see characters like Clea. I know Mon Mothma's in the original trilogy a little bit. And characters like Clea, Bix, Vel, like we like I just never will see them again like after this, and that's what sucks. Like people who I know lived, and I can just maybe assume that they died in the Battle of Yavin. I don't know. I don't know if like if they threw like AT-ATs down on Yavin and maybe they got blown. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen the original trilogy. But my question for you guys is, I know Mon Mothma dies at some point. Does she die? Don't tell me how, but does she die in the original trilogy? And do we see her die, or is it in like a different show or something?
I don't think they show it. She was alive during the events of the sequel trilogy, and her fate is left open.
Yeah,
She was alive in the sequel trilogy?
We don't see her death ever.
Yeah, we don't see her death. There's something in Legends. I'm just looking at Wikipedia right now. It says that this book was published. I think it's a book was published in 2005, and said that she passed away in her sleep in 24 ABY. So she had a nice peaceful life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
which would only make her, I think that only makes her about 70 something years old at time of death, 80 something. She was born 48 BBY. She died 24 ABY. So that's 48 plus what, 24?
So what do the BBY stand for again? Is that
before the Battle of Yavin?
Battle of Yavin, which is Luke blowing up the Death Star, and then after ABY is after Battle of Yavin, which is anytime after that.
I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about this timeline wise, but I think like she's alive through 6, but she's not alive through episode 9. Like I don't think she's alive through the end of the sequels.
Yeah, but during them. Okay. She doesn't show up in the sequels, right, Ben? I don't think she does.
I don't think so.
And then
if you want more of her, I'd say Rebels. Rebels later seasons does.
She's in it a lot, and that's like during this time period, right, of Andor and Rogue One.
I think they even recreate the Saw speech, Saw at the end or at the beginning of Rogue One. I think they recreate something like that in Rebels. I'm not too sure, but I think you'd like Rebels a lot. Actually, I think you would really like it. Anyways, what was the second question?
And then Bale dies with Alderaan, right? Or no?
Yeah,
he does,
right?
Okay.
Yeah,
I think seen these movies in a long time.
I think I actually looked this up, and I think I did see that he did die on Alderaan. Yeah, he died on his home planet of Alderaan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
because Leia had to see that, right, in A New Hope. She was forced
forced to watch.
Yeah,
and I know that in Rogue One he says he has to go back to Alderaan, and I figured that's what that was setting that up, but I didn't know if like his ship got stopped or something like that.
Yeah, and Charlie, to your point, just about with characters in this time period. I mean, I think even Rogue One had this task as well of just like, we're writing a story that then goes right into episode 4. And so, and we'll talk about that with Rogue One and how that specifically applies to that. But you kind of you have like a box that you're confined to of characters that you can or can't use based on the time period. And at some point, you're right that like we run out of space to tell stories about these characters. It's like, we can't just continue with them for too long because, with the rebellion and Clea, for example, it's like, why would she not be in episode 4, A New Hope? There's already a story there with other characters. So there has to be like a different a different reason for why she's not there or why she can't be there. And that's kind of the case for everyone that they write into this time period, which they do revisit a lot. They really like this time period.
It's wild. I love the term a glup shitto. I mean, because that's literally just what it is. I will say really cool that this is her first acting credit ever. Like I think there was a report today where she said she graduated drama school. I think it was. I forget the exact term. She graduated drama school and went right into acting on Andor. And she said that Tony Gilroy intentionally put her in more scenes as she got better at acting through the show, which is why
Mon Mothma, or who we talking about?
No, Clea.
Clea. Oh, my bad. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, we're off Mon Mothma now. Yeah, that as she got better at acting throughout as the show went on, he gave her more screen time, which is why the back half of season 2 she's so like prevalent. And so I think that's just really cool that this is her first credit. I also think it's like me and Charlie were looking at this, I think after we started or before we started recording, I'm not sure. But characters like Cyril and Dedra and even Vel, this is all like their first major role. Like they do not have a lot of anything. So like going forward, it's the same thing with Tremel Tillman and Mission Impossible. Like to see these actors grow and be like, oh yeah, so and so who was from Andor, as you all know. Like I think it's cool that we get to just like see these unknown actors and kind of like see them prosper from here on out. But yeah, I thought that was really cool that Tony Gilroy was like, oh, you got better, let me throw you in more scenes, and she's just continuously killed it.
Charlie, I did have one more question for you. The last time that we like briefly talked about Andor, you had hinted at there was a character that you knew was in Rogue One who you had seen. And you didn't tell me who that was because you didn't know if I knew. I assume it was Saw Gerrera.
No.
It wasn't Saw Gerrera.
No,
who was it then?
It was Bail Organa. That's because I didn't want to spoil that he was recast for you if you didn't know.
Is that
I didn't want to spoil that he was in the show either.
What were you going to ask about with that?
I was gonna ask about the actor and why he wasn't in it.
Gotcha.
Because he's been in every other appearance that Bail Organa has ever been in, like even down to the Kenobi show. So
yeah, okay.
And I thought the actor died, so I had to look it up, and that's why I was.
I don't know that answer either, but that I remembered that you had brought up that you had a question, and we just hadn't had the chance to revisit that yet. So I was curious on that.
Ben, I have a question for you. Who was the other Rogue One character that you said you knew appeared in season 2?
K2SO.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Which like, I think we all knew that, but like, I mean, Charlie hadn't watched Rogue One, but I didn't know if he connected the dots. Like, I knew he connected the dots for Krennic, and whatnot, but there ended up being a lot more Rogue One characters set up towards the end of this than I expected there to be, even. Which I mean, it makes sense and it helps build more of a foundation leading into Rogue One. But even K2SO, like his involvement in the back half. I guess specifically just like the last 3 episodes was like really cool to see, and then knowing like where they go, it's like this is a great way to establish this. It fits in the show, but it also helps what comes next, and that's like perfect for when you're doing a prequel like this.
Mm-hmm. Alan Tudyk, what a absolute legend.
Yeah. I'll briefly touch on my thoughts on these last couple of episodes.
Wait! I have to. Speaking of Alan, sorry, I was probably some like in terms of comedic relief characters, I'm never like huge on them. Like Red Guardian, I didn't love him until Thunderbolts, whatever. But dude, K2SO, bro, episode they got the Imperial Trooper or whatever. He's like, "Are you with us?" And then K2SO is like, "No." Just backhands him off the cliff. Oh, dude, that was fire.
It works so well with the droid. It fits so perfectly. And I mean, I think that even is probably even more enjoyable in Rogue One as well, which we'll talk about. But
Yeah. I was gonna say that, but I didn't. I wanted to hold off too until we talk about Rogue One.
So episodes 10, 11, and 12. To me, this was like 10 was obviously very different, but just in terms of quality, this was just like a great continuation with how much I was loving the previous week. I don't think these episodes like it's hard to contend with how great 8 and 9 were, but I would argue they should be in the conversation. They were very, very good. Episode 10, we already kind of all talked about it, but just the flashbacks and crazy that you could have basically an entire episode where we don't see arguably like our main characters for the show. We really just focus in on this one storyline, and yet it works so well. Just a testament to how incredible that they write these characters and write this show. And then kind of pairing 11 and 12 together because it's really just one big episode. Just phenomenal stuff. Tying up loose ends, setting up what's coming next. I think, Charlie, you had asked us, like, would you lose anything because you hadn't seen Rogue One? And I think the best way I can put it is that knowing where Rogue One goes, I think I could appreciate the ending and episode 12 a little bit more, because everything they're setting up, it's like, oh, this is really cool because I know this thing. Whereas for you, it's like they're setting it up and then you'll see the cool thing when you watch Rogue One. And so like it's not going to ruin your experience with the show, but I just viewed it from a much different lens. And especially that's the case with like the end of episode 12. You said you knew Cassian's fate in Rogue One, but you didn't know exactly how it happened. For me, like, and Aiden, that probably was more of a gut punch for us. And I was tearing up at the end.
I was
because
sobbing,
it's like,
yeah.
I am immediately thinking about the scene in Rogue One because I know where this goes. And that is like, it hits even harder knowing that.
See, I want to say, sorry to interrupt you. I want to say that I think it hit for me more when she left, because I was crying when she left in episode 9, because like,
Yeah.
I knew at that moment, that's when I knew like, oh, they never see each other again. And sure, the kid, like the kid aspect does make it even like a bit more sad, but I feel I had already felt the sadness of like,
Gotcha.
they're never going to see each other again. And like, that sucks. Like,
Yeah. And this definitely was like the fact that, she had their kid. That was more of the moment of just like, you don't know that from Rogue One. You don't learn that in Rogue One. And so adding that into this show, you're just like, you had to do it. Yeah. Tony Gilroy, you had to do it. Yeah. So I think just in general, I think my appreciation for what they tie up and set up in 11 and 12 is going to be a little bit more than for you, Charlie, because it's your first experience with it. And again, it's not like it inherently takes anything away, but it does help a little bit knowing what's coming. So I was very pleased. And it didn't, like, it is the end of the series, but for me, finishing it, I didn't feel like it was the end of the series. I felt like, oh, I have a 2.5 hour movie I get to watch. That's a continuation of where we're
in a
at.
new light, like
completely new light.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I have the complete story of what's been happening. And obviously this leads into A New Hope and everything that happens after that. So it still carries more weight into the future. But at least like for a lot of these characters and the things that are directly set up by this show, the series didn't feel like the ending, even though it was the ending of the series. And then watching Rogue One paired alongside of it, I think was like just really, really helpful, which we'll talk about Rogue One soon. But Mr. Aiden, want to hear your thoughts. Final 3 episodes of Andor.
Incredible stuff. I thought episode 10 was a masterpiece. Just we talked about it. I've agreed with everything that y'all have been saying in terms of I think it's no surprise that we all absolutely love and adore this show. I think we all agree it's some of the best television we've seen this year in a while, however you like it. I thought it was great. Episode 10 was awesome. Episode 11 was really cool. I love ending the episode with Cassie and just kind of talking to Clea and figuring things out, and they're just taking their sweet time, and they don't know that all these ISB agents have just been deployed to their exact pinpoint location. They are about to blow the door down and make their way up to this room where they are both hashing everything out. And all while that's going on, they're just taking their sweet time arguing about why she should or should not go to Yavin. And they're just marching. They're making their way up there. But I absolutely I love the moment of Clea just grabbing Cassian and being like, you need to get you need to get this information to them. You need to go tell them everything that I just told you, because he just died for this. Luthen, who you have been working for, who you care about, just died getting this information to us. Do not make his death, do not make his sacrifice mean nothing. Please go and get this to them. And I thought just like having her begging, and then also having the ISB agents just slowly making their way to their front door to end the episode off like that, I thought it was awesome. It's just a beautiful bridge to that episode 12, which again I thought was great. I'll just fire off my notes here. Episode 11, I loved Clea being feared as a team of 3 to the Empire. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This had to be at least a team of at least 3. And she's just walking in with her nurse scrubs. Oh my gosh. I cannot explain just how much I absolutely fell in love with her character in these past 3 episodes. She is such a G. I love Clea so much. And then Charlie, we talked about this last week of the Force healer just kind of saying that he has a purpose, that he's a messenger. And I love that now you finally have watched Rogue One and you can see how beautiful that scene really was, and how Bix really, just how much her sacrifice meant to the rebellion, because she was so much more touched by that Force healer saying that than Cassian was. And that was truly the moment that she was like, I got to do something. I can't. I'm in his way. If we really want these things to go the way we think, I have to make a decision that I know he won't like, and I have to do it against his will. And for that Force healer to say that, and to say that he has a purpose in this rebellion and that he is a messenger, and to see that role of a messenger being played out, and even him slowly falling into that role, going to pick up Clea and save her on Coruscant. And then also everything in episode 12 where he's having that sit down with the council, whatever, the Senate of the rebellion, being that messenger and falling into that role these last 3 episodes. I thought that was awesome. I think it heightens everything about that Force healer moment in episode 6, 7. So yeah, I love that. And then episode 12, I love Cassian's line. It's insulting to hear him be run down by people who have sacrificed a fraction of what he has for this rebellion, when everyone was talking crap about Luthen at the meeting, and Cassian just was not having any of it. And then one of my favorite moments of episode 12 was them asking Cassian, when's the last time you spoke to Luthen? And he said, a year ago, whenever I saved her. Whenever I extracted her and saved her life, because Luthen sent me on that mission. And Bail Organa shakes his head and he says, duly noted. Bro, it's so sick, because Bail's group was the group that was corrupted. If Cassian wasn't there, if Luthen didn't have a part in that, Mon Mothma was gone. She's dead. Mm-hmm. That mission is a fail. Yeah. Luthen being there and sending Cassian on that mission, Luthen being the mastermind that he is the only reason that Bail Organa got bailed out and Mon Mothma is alive. So Bail looking at him and just being like, all right, I'll back off. I get it. I absolutely loved that moment. And it's just a testament to the writing of the show that, you can have things like all of those moments I just listed off that, there are moments from season 1, there are moments from, 4 episodes ago, 3 episodes, whatever, that just come back in such a beautiful way to to just heighten what you're watching. Even like I said, one of my favorite moments of the season is Vel and Cinta being eye to eye together again, and it being in a scenario where Cinta is revealed to be working for Luthen and about to take a man out and kill him. That moment right there, it's like that moment doesn't work if all of the stuff at the back half of season 1 doesn't play out the way it does and isn't written the way it is. And so there's just cool things like that I'm sure a rewatch of this show you could pick even more out. But I'm a huge fan. I absolutely adore everything about this show. I'm so happy that again, I've said this before all year. I'm so happy that I'm finally caught up on One Piece to where I can just appreciate all of these shows that I've missed out on and get to be a part of all of these discussions. And yeah, I'm giddy, man. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this show. It's awesome. It's amazing. That finale. I tweeted it was inspiring. It had me sobbing. It punched me in the gut. But then you're also like, oh man, but I'm so full of hope because I know that this all means something. I know that everybody sacrificed in this show. Even Nemec, his manifesto just being read all across the galaxy to the point where Partagas has to take himself out with a blaster because it means that much, dude. Because that manifesto has inspired people that much to the point where Partagas is like, am I part of the problem? Like, I have a hand in all of this. People like Cyril seeing their destruction. But also Partagas probably taking himself out because he knows that he has to deal with Palpatine or Vader. It's just things like that, man. It's an awesome show. It's a great final 3 episodes.
Yeah.
It's I could not be more happy. I'll bring this up right now just because I'm giving my thoughts, but I wanted to do. I know Ben, you said we'll talk about our like updated TV show ranking. I didn't know if you wanted to do that before or after Rogue One.
Yeah, I do want to do it. I did want to briefly bring up just to show kind of how well this show is being received by all the fans. I wanted to talk a little bit about the IMDb scores. So for season 1, the highest rated episodes include episode 6 with a 9.1 out of 10. And then episode 9 has an 8.6 and episode 10 has a 9.5. So 9.5, that's the highest of season 1. And I brought up episode 9 just because I know you guys talked about you liked it a little bit more than 10 even. But then for season 2, season 2 is crazy. Most of the first 6 are in like the high 7s to mid 8s. And then starting with season 2, episode 6 and 8.8, episode 7 and 8.5. Episode 8 is a 9.8 out of 10.
Jeez Louise.
Followed by a 9.7. That's 8 and 9, which I mean is expected. We think those are like the best episodes in the show. And then the final arc, episodes 10, 11, and 12, is a 9.6, 9.5, 9.6.
Jeez, dude.
Incredible run. Like, insane. Because I don't know if you guys have seen these before where they make the little graph of IMDb scores for like a television show and the different seasons and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then it's color coded based on how well received it is. And you have shows that have like really good multiple episode runs that get into the high 9s and whatnot. This will look dang good for Andor because that is like those final 6 episodes or even final 7 episodes, basically episodes 6 through 12, all incredibly highly rated and well deserved, I think. Very well deserved, which, I mean, we said it. It's a very back half heavy, other than a couple standout episodes. Otherwise, like, it's mainly episode 6 onward that are just phenomenal. An amazing stretch of television. And I'm glad that it's getting the credit that it deserves. It's amazing. We love it. And I do definitely want to talk about where this fits into our show ranking for this year so far.
Can you remind me of the TV shows? I got Andor. I got
So we have
Daredevil,
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Daredevil,
Spider-Man.
Severance, Invincible,
Mm-hmm.
and Andor. I think that's it.
Is that it?
And then we have The Last of Us so far.
Yeah,
but
so far, but I don't think
Yeah.
we should
Yeah,
include that.
we
so
can wait on that.
this is the 5th TV show that we fully finished so far this year.
Huh. I could have sworn there was one more, but yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Who wants to go first? I'll leave it out to the open.
I'll go first just because I don't. I'll just get this out here, or I'll just get this out there. All right. I can't remember. Man, I'll go back and look while y'all give y'all's, but I swear I felt like there was something. There's no way. Whatever. Okay, at my number 5 spot of TV shows we've watched so far this year. Number 5 belongs to Daredevil Born Again. I think we discussed this this last time. We all have had y'all's whatever y'all's takes. Who cares? Daredevil Born Again. A couple of great shows or a couple of great episodes. Overall,
Spider-Man, you want me to go faster? Spider-Man.
all right, let's go ahead and mute this guy. Jeez Louise, thank gosh. Daredevil, some decent episodes, some great episodes, some that just did not do it for me. Felt messy, felt incomplete. Whatever. Daredevil is at the 5 spot. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I liked just a little bit more, goes at number 4. At number 3, obviously, is Invincible. Greatest season of its show. Absolute amazing television. I mean, these 3 are in a league of their own. Number 2. It's been close, and I've gone back and forth all week. It's been hard to settle. There's, on one hand, Severance has established itself. It has, proven itself, and it has done it in just 2 seasons in its own little universe, and it has been so captivating and deserves all its flowers. It's an amazing TV show. Andor, same exact thing. It's had 2 seasons. It has established itself, but it also has told a complete story. This season 2 was that complete story, but to that point, it does benefit by being in a huge universe where it is followed up by a movie that, in a way, could kind of heighten what you're feeling in the moment. Could kind of heighten. But at the same time, it's like, do you take too much of that into consideration? Because look at Charlie, who has never watched Rogue One and knows a little bit about A New Hope. He's watched Andor season 1 and 2, and he absolutely loves it. But again, I don't know. What if he has Severance at 1? Then does that add to the point? It's been hard. I've thought about a lot of different scenarios. Taking these 2 shows from 2025, season 2 of Severance, season 2 of Andor, what is the better one this year? I have to say Andor is my favorite TV show of the year so far. I think it just barely edges out Severance. I think that there are now our first 9 episodes, when me and Charlie were talking about it last week, I would say no. It depended on these final 3 episodes. The more I thought about it, man, the more that these final 3 episodes were the second best arc of the series. And so it is very back half. But, I'm actually rewatching Severance season 2 right now, and I have been this month with my fiance. And, the Cobell episode and even episode 9, the penultimate, it's good, but it just feels like it's like just that little bit of setup where you have the Gorman Massacre, you have the Harvest episode, which it might be that extra little nudge for me that I needed to get over Severance. And then you have the final 3 episode arc, which every time I think about it, every edit I see, the show just gets better and better for me in my head. The week to week of Severance was awesome. It was a feeling that I haven't felt in a very long time. That is something to take into consideration. But I feel like with Andor, we were also looking forward to just how amazing this next batch of 3 episodes was going to be. We just weren't speculating, but we were looking forward because we knew that we had 3 amazing episodes, beautifully written, beautifully shot, absolute gorgeous looking episodes to come up, and that feeling of excitement, those 2 weeks that I caught up and I got to feel that was special as well. I can't just put it down for that. So I've thought about it a lot. I'm just going to go ahead and go first to get it out there. I think Andor is my favorite TV show of the year this year. Now, a TV show as a whole, I don't know, that might be a different discussion, but season 2 of Andor, season 2 of Severance, season 3 of Invincible, Your Friendly Neighborhood, and Daredevil Born Again. That'd be my order. Andor takes the cake.
I'll go next. I'll keep it short. Pretty similar list. And my number 5 is Spider-Man. Obvious. Pretty obvious to me. Number 4, and like, it almost breaks my heart, but it also just makes me happy. It's Daredevil Born Again. Like, it makes me happy because, like, if that's 4th out of the 5 shows we covered, then we're having a dang good year for television. Like, for that to be low down, even though I liked it even more than you guys did. Number 3 is Invincible season 3. And then I've been debating this a lot as well. This has been the question. But I think for a lot of the similar reasons, just like Severance, I'm really excited to see where they go next. Obviously, I was loving the show. Every single week I was anticipating what they were going to teach us next. But there's just something special about Andor and just how it fits in, like how it bridged the gap from something I already loved, season 1, into something that I already loved with Rogue One, and just completing that picture. It just has more things to base it off of. So I think it has that slight edge of being in a franchise versus being something new like Severance, that it already has that foundation that allows it to elevate itself to a higher level. So very, very slightly, I would give it to Andor season 2. And just in general, I mean, I didn't like Severance. I don't think I liked Severance season 2 as much as season 1. Still very, very good, but a bit of a step down. So if we're comparing, season 1 of Andor versus season 1 of Severance, I mean, I think there's still conversation, but I think that could go to Severance. This, I would say, it's the other way around, where they stepped it up for Andor with the final season. So Andor season 2, the best show of 2025 so far.
Awesome. Let's go.
Best show of 2025 so far. Yeah, my list is more aligned with Ben. Cause like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Although a little bit of a tangent, I will say the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Funko Pops, those are looking fire, man. Those are looking fire. Because they actually paint, like, I don't know if you guys remember, I was telling you, like, I showed you guys the side-by-side of, like, how I painted the lines on one myself. For some reason, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man ones have the lines painted on them. They're one of the only Spider-Man Funko Pops with the lines painted, but whatever. And there's one dude where he has, like, the mask, like, half off. It's, like, on his head. Dude, I don't know. Whatever. Tangent over. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man at the bottom, the show's trash, except for the last 2 episodes. I'm just kidding. The Lonnie stuff's really good. But then Daredevil at number 4. As I said when I was talking about it after we finish it, like, I think it's the worst of all the Daredevil seasons. I think even season 2 of Daredevil is better. But with that being said, still a pretty good show. And I'm looking forward to season 2, which has Jessica Jones. Oh my God, we don't even gonna have time to talk about that. Jessica Jones, man, Jessica Jones. But then at number 3, man, it honestly pains me to put it here because, like I said, I was really gushing about Invincible season 3 when we were talking about it. It pains me to put it here because, like, I love the absolute hell out of that season, man.
Yeah,
like, it is so good. I think it's the best of the show, and I in terms of like what it does with Mark specifically, I think some of the characters like Debbie take a back seat, whereas like Debbie, like she has a lot of other good writing in past seasons and whatnot. So there's some flaws, and even like I forget what's the he's just a kid, bro. What's his name? Oliver. That Oliver is his name.
He's just a kid. No.
Yeah, with Oliver, like he had some decent writing, but even then he wasn't much of a focus. Like it was like came in little spurts. So like I can appreciate it for what it was and what it had while it was there. I really love it, but I mean, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, you're scaring me,
Dude.
The fact that this, like, I thought that you would be putting Invincible not at
number one. You thought I'd do?
not necessarily number one, but the fact that you're thinking about putting Andor above it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not even thinking. Not thinking. Andor's above it. Invincible season 3 is at number 3. I'm bouncing back and forth between 1 and 2 right now because like,
Yeah.
oh man, dude, because like the Cobell episode, I really don't care. I really didn't care, and I get it, but I just didn't care. And I also like, I think of like the beginning of, but granted, we're actually no, I can't include that because we're just talking about 2025. I gotta go Andor then. I have to go Andor.
Oh my gosh, you did it.
Andor at number 1, just like you guys, and Severance at number 2. Because I was gonna say, like, I was gonna point back to season 1 and like the first couple of episodes, like we've talked about this, like I really was not into it. I did not care about what was going on. It was just, it seemed pretty with the exception of episode 3, which I think is where he meets Luthen. But obviously that's from season 1. That's we're judging 2025 shows, and like season 2, man, I think like even for its low moments, like it was never a Cobell episode low. I don't think. Not that the Cobell episode was a super low. Not that I don't even want to try to trash on Severance like that. But I do think that it sticks out like a sore thumb in a way. And whereas Andor season 2, I don't think has an episode that sticks out like a sore thumb. There's lower episodes, as I said, but like nothing like that. So
yeah,
Andor's got it, baby. Andor's got it.
If you were to tell me after finishing Severance season 2 that there would be a show this year that was better, I would have looked at you funny. I would have told you were out of your mind. To be at the point right now where we all have Andor above Severance, I mean, jeez, man, that's great. I thought I was going to be out of pocket going first and saying Andor above season 2 of Severance, but I mean, I'm all for it, dude. That's
I'm
insane.
I'm very happy about it, but I'm surprised for Charlie. Like, I knew that you were really enjoying Andor, but the fact that you hold it in as high of a regard as Aiden and I really speaks just to how good the show is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't you love when we all agree on on a project? Isn't it fun?
Yeah, Aiden, it'd be nice if you just didn't like the Venom 3s of the world and the Spider-Man, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Mans of the world.
Yeah.
You gotta spice things up every now and then.
Yeah. Basically you're the problem, Aiden.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we can transition into some Rogue One discussion. And I want to start with Charlie because Aiden and I have seen this movie. I've seen it multiple times since it came out. And Charlie, this is, fresh viewing after watching Andor, so a bit of a different experience. But Charlie, I want you to go first. Get into your thoughts. Like I'm just being honest. When you said like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to watch Rogue One right after Andor," part of me wanted to be like, "Dude, I want to hear his thoughts about Rogue One." Like, right? I want a 10-minute voice message from him right after he watches it. And then I was just like, "Nope, got to wait for the podcast." So this is the thing I've been really excited about because like it's different for you. We've
Sure.
known, we've seen it. It's still like we had a fresh experience with it. It changed our perspective because we've seen the show now. But for you, like completely fresh, blank slate, never seen it before. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know that until I think before we started recording tonight. I didn't know that you liked Rogue One so much. But with that being said, it's a garbage movie. Imagine I just crushed his dreams like that. That'd be awesome. I mean, for a Star Wars film, for me, just off the cuff, straight off the dome, it was probably the best one I've seen, I think. And again, I need to rewatch the original trilogy before I can definitively say that. But I mean, and it's also hard because I don't know if it's heightened after finishing Andor, but it is nonetheless. I don't want to take away from the movie at all when I say these kind of things, but I do think it's the best one I've seen. And I obviously I have some complaints. I have some maybe it's after focusing on Cassian for 2 seasons and then coming in and now like I gotta listen to Jyn Erso talk all the time. I don't actually dislike Jyn Erso. I think she's great. I think what's her name, Felicity Jones. I think she does a great job, and I'm very. I enjoyed her arc, although it felt a little bit quick. I understood the arc, and I think it was done well. Everything involving her dad and the choices that her dad made. It's just I guess I point to like the conversation that she has with Saw, talking about like it's not so bad if you don't look up. Just ignoring like the Imperial waving flags and how the Empire is ruling with an iron fist. She just doesn't care. There's actually I believe she specifically says that the rebellion has done nothing but hurt her, and when she's talking to Saw and I didn't know if there was a line that I missed in the movie or if that was just something that was like never explored. Because I mean I'd love to know how it maybe because she was raised with Saw and Saw is technically part of the rebellion in his own way. And maybe it's probably just like some unspoken stuff that we haven't seen. Maybe we'll get a Jyn Erso show about what she's talking about. But so never mind that. But she has really good stuff. I didn't expect to see her dad. Who's the actor?
Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen. Thank you.
Yeah.
I did not expect to see him in this. Rather small role for him. I thought he'd be in it a little bit more, but I mean, hey, great stuff. Krennic, I thought he was fantastic, and I really wished it made me wish that we'd seen a little bit more of him in Andor because Ben Mendelsohn he's
Mendelsohn?
Is that his name?
Isn't it Ben Knightley? Or am I thinking of somebody else? It is Mendelsohn. Who's Ben Knightley?
I've never heard
Ben
of
Kingsley.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Different actor. It's because I've been watching the MCU. You know, it's
Okay, yeah, sure. He's not in it until Iron Man 3. Yeah, so you would have if you watched. Yeah, okay. Never mind. But Ben Mendelsohn, yes, I wish he was in more of Andor, and then also it just makes me think. Speaking of the MCU, how he was just wasted in Secret Invasion, that god awful show, that terrible show. Seriously, some of the worst thing the MCU's probably ever put out, and I will stand by that for till the end of the time, probably. But with I thought Melshi would have a bigger role. Oh, I wanted to talk about K2SO as well. Dude, I struggle to say that like it was. I mean, no, it was a step up in terms of like just his role in general. Obviously, like he was a bigger purpose in Rogue One than in Andor. I don't think he had enough time to really do as much in Andor. But just, I mean, all the little things. I think there was what was the line of Jyn Erso's like, well, no, I don't want to. I don't want you going out there because if they start shooting at you, they might miss and hit me. And then K2's like, that doesn't sound so bad.
Or when he rescues them and
She shoots another Imperial droid.
well, that one, and then right after that, he like catches the explosive, and he says, "There's a lot of explosions for two people blending in," and just tosses it at the stormtroopers.
Oh my! And then, but yeah, when she shoots the other Imperial droid, and then he's like, "Did you know that wasn't me?"
Yeah.
Dude, I told you, Charlie. I told you that he's a beast and that he's such a likable character. You over here dogging on him after episode 9, whenever Cassian picks.
Wait, really? What did I say? I don't even remember what I said.
I don't know if you were dogging on him. I just know you were like, yeah, he just like picked up that droid, like whatever. And I was like, oh, that is the man. Like that is he is him. He's one of the best droids.
I probably did say something like that. Oh, he stole a droid off Gorman. Yeah. I do think it's cool that he came from the Battle of Gorman too. I want to also preface that, but
as soon as he looked over and was like, take him, bring him on this ship with us, I was like, oh yes, it's K2SO, let's go. Also, we didn't mention, sorry, I'm not trying to go back to Andor, we never mentioned that shot of Andor crying leaving Gorman, and just like how riddle, because I really do love that, and we had never touched on it. That's like a really awesome scene. Anyways, yes, continue.
Because that's I'm not trying to go back to Andor either, but that's like, because you think about when you're watching that, you think back to the conversation of like after he left Gorman initially, when Luthen sent him and he told Luthen like this is what was going to happen, and Luthen is like, well, if it happens, then they're gonna burn so brightly, and he was right. Mm-hmm. But it's crazy, the levels. The Death Star stuff was interesting. I don't know, like not being a Star Wars guy, I'm never like super into like the Death Star stuff. Like it is a powerful weapon, I understand that, and I understand its threat and everything like that. And I do think it's cool in a sort, because like as a potential CinemaSins guy, sometimes I have the potential to like, oh, the Death Star just conveniently has one little place they can shoot, and then this movie kind of has a way of making that make sense. Not kind of, it has a way of making it make sense and making it impactful, even not just some throwaway thing. And I respect the hell out of it for that, and I appreciate the hell out of it for that. Not being a Star Wars guy.
One of the big questions that this movie aimed to answer was how does the Rebel Alliance have the Death Star plans in Episode 4? Mm-hmm. That was like the biggest thing. Okay. Because it's kind of just a thing you accept, just like, oh, they have the plans and they can destroy it. How does that work? And this is that story.
Yeah. The dogfight stuff, honestly, I think after seeing Top Gun Maverick, this kind of did a disservice. It kind of did a disservice to this, even though it's cool, it's in space.
That's so unfortunate, actually. Yeah. I stand by that. Like for space battles in Star Wars, this is the best third act space battle that Star Wars has ever had.
It's incredible.
Okay,
I think it's the best.
Is there one in like Attack of the Clones or something? In one of the prequels, isn't there
are you thinking of Revenge of the Sith, the beginning fight, or?
Oh, I might be thinking of the beginning one.
Yeah, I mean it's god awful.
This is where the fun begins.
Yeah.
Okay. It looked really cool, and it was visually pleasing, and I loved the toying around with like the force field and the idea with that and everything. I thought was pretty cool. But still, like after Top Gun Maverick, like dogfight scenes, like I don't know, it's hard to, especially just right, because I was like, I had watched Top Gun Maverick like 2 days before this, so it was like it was fresh on the mind. Yeah. But I'm sure for what they did, it was still cool. Again, I love espionage stuff, so like watching them get down into the through the portal and land on Scarif, and then just them putting on the clothes of the guards and everything like that. I loved every aspect of that. Really cool to see. Oh my gosh, dude, when they blew up Jeddah, like that was, oh my, I did not know that happened whatsoever. So that was a really cool, like, visual pleasure to watch that whole thing play out. And I didn't know that Saw dies there at all. So like that was a somewhat cool thing. Kind of a more of a minor player in Andor the show, I would say, in terms of like compared to everybody else in that show. But I still like, it was a moment of like, oh wow, okay, that's there's another Andor character just gone, you know?
Yeah.
But overall, I think I do really appreciate it. And I was telling this to Aiden that I'm going to go head into episode 4 here shortly. A New Hope. I'm going to watch it and see if I have a new light with it. I feel like I watched it recently though. Like, I feel like I remember the beginning parts with Luke on Tatooine like very distinctly. I don't know why I remember that so well, but maybe because I don't know if you guys remember. I told you guys why was I rewatching the prequels? Why was I watching the prequels? I was watching them for something, and I feel like I tried to continue after them.
Recently, you did?
Yeah, I feel like I texted you guys about it. I don't know.
I don't remember that.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, man. I think I can. Oh, and I didn't. Also, I want to say I didn't expect Darth Vader to be in it more than I knew he was at the end. Because my dad's a huge Star Wars guy, or was a huge Star Wars guy, like with the original trilogy, and he's like, I don't like this movie, but I love this scene at the end with Darth Vader, and I was like, so he always showed me that scene, and I was like, oh yeah, it's cool, man. That's Darth Vader, wow. No, Darth Vader's cool. Again, like that's what I like about Star Wars is like the Jedi and all that crazy cool stuff. So, dude, I mean to have them go out in like a nuclear flash, bro, like. Oh my God, man!
Was there a moment where you knew that that's what was going to happen?
Honestly, I was confused because I saw Tarkin, is that the general's name? That shot the Death Star at Scarif.
Yeah.
When he like just hit the satellite, I was like, is this boy stupid? Like what the hell just happened? But then as I saw it on the horizon, I was like, dude, no way, bro. No way this is how they like. Oh my gosh, man! I weirdly felt bad for Jyn Erso as well. Even though, like, I know they did what they came to do and they got it done, and now the rebellion can live on, and have hope. And I love Aiden and I talked about this on our last week's episode. I love the implementation of rebellions are built on hope and how that was started in Andor, and where it was started. And I think how Aiden put it, like it was just like the little guy, you know, like it's the small individuals within the rebellion that kind of inspire these big, huge ideas that the rebellion kind of operates on. And it doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to be a Luke Skywalker that came up with it, or a Princess Leia that came up with it, you know. It points to a bigger universe, and that's, as I have told you guys, that one of my biggest complaints is that with Star Wars is that they tend to revolve around the Skywalkers and everything, especially in current days. They love the nostalgia and whatnot. So to have a show like Andor with characters that are outside of all of that, and have even characters that are not significant in that show be the ones to come up with that sort of line that is carried through into Rogue One, and how it makes sense why Cassian's saying it to Jyn Erso, and then Jyn Erso saying it to the entire. She has to be the one to remind the entire Rebellion Council as to why they're doing what they're doing. Which I like. I have a push and pull with that whole thing also myself, because like the one guy's like, the rebellion is dead. How are you on the council? It sounds like you barely believe in this damn thing that you're doing here. That is insane to me. But whatever. It was still cool. Jyn Erso got to do her thing and you know, and try to inspire them all, even though it was all for naught until Cassian brings Melshi and all the other guys in, and then they all become Rogue One and get her done. So,
what's your call sign? Rogue. She's like, come on, say something. Rogue One. Oh my gosh, what a moment.
That was cool for me too, because I literally never knew, like, why is it called Rogue One? Like, I never knew why it was called Rogue One. It never made sense to me.
Yeah.
But it was also just something I never really cared to think about. But
Yeah.
it is super. I do think it is super cool. It's like I was back in Top Gun Maverick. That's what it calls that. I was like, yo. But no, yeah, it's a great movie. Star Wars wise for me. Not to try to diminish it by saying that, but it is a really good Star Wars movie for me. The best one that I think I've seen. But again, I need to rewatch the original trilogy.
Yeah. I really love this movie. I always have. And good Star Wars movie is a good way to put it. I originally had this as my third favorite Star Wars movie behind Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith. But now after rewatching Revenge of the Sith, this is better. It's better.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I should probably rewatch like the whole franchise, to be honest, just to get a fresh perspective and see. But like, saying that this is the best Star Wars movie, not mad about that. And I definitely think it's the easily the best of the Disney modern day Star Wars movies that we've gotten. And even so, like, I mean, Charlie, what would you give as a rating for this movie?
Out of 10, I'd give it an 8. I think I'd give it an 8. I thoroughly enjoyed the character dynamics a lot, and I'm big on that. So I think there's actually, sorry, I forgot to bring this up when I was talking. What's with Cassian not killing Galen when he had the shot, he had the chance? Because I just, that's like the one time where I feel like maybe Cassian acted out of character that I had seen.
I have my answer in my heart that I can give, and this is what I
Okay.
believe, and it makes it really, really good. Right before that, what's his name? I'm gonna butcher this. Is it Chirrut? Donnie Yen's character.
Ooh.
When they're in the ship, they're in the U-wing, and Donnie Yen can sense what's going on with the Force. And he said something about, the dark side of the Force moves as something is about to kill, something along those lines. Speaking about how, Cassian, and that's the reason why he's there. And so in my headcanon, what I truly believe is that after what we've seen in Andor and his experience with the Force and kind of more accepting of it or open to it, as he had a couple of experiences with it, is that in that moment, because Donnie Yen's character is so strong with the Force and could sense that it was a Force thing that was telling him like, this is not the right thing to do. That's what I believe is like that push and pull of it can be the dark side of the Force that's telling you the wrong thing to do, but then you can have the light side of the Force, the correct side, or whatever you want to call it, that can be holding you back from embracing that. So I think it's that is like, yeah, he was given orders. He's never been great about following orders, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
if he feels something in his gut that something else should happen, he does something different. And so I will believe that like that was the Force telling him this is not correct, and that's why he didn't do it.
Maybe that's the complaint I have, is that it just kind of sprung up out of nowhere. Like I didn't see like him doubting those orders at any point in the build up to that. Just in the moment, he was trying to get the shot, and then he just decided right then and there to not take it. Which, like, it's not end all be all for me liking or disliking the movie, but you're 100% right. He's never been great at following orders, and he will do what he thinks is right. And so I think that in and of itself is enough to speak to that moment.
Yeah. Further talking about some of my thoughts, like I mentioned earlier, Rogue One in and of itself wrote itself into a box because it was leading into A New Hope. So going into it, even the first time, it's like, okay, any character that they introduce that we don't already know from episode 4, we basically know is disposable. They could die at any point. And this movie doesn't shy away from it. They kill off characters pretty regularly, especially in the final hour and a half. Really quick to just send off the characters, which, I mean, it makes sense in this light as well, because the whole point of this mission is like, we are just giving it our all. It's the same type of thing. We are giving it our all now. We are giving our lives now so that somebody else can succeed in the future. And even if we don't get to see that, it's still worth it for the cause. And it's still just that continuation of that message, that is the hope the rebellion is built on, is that there will continue to be more people who are willing to do that, to continue to build on that foundation to eventually win. That's the whole point of the rebellion. So I think while it was written in a way that kind of confined itself, it still was able to shine within that and still highlight those aspects of the rebellion that make it so compelling and interesting and just inherently good, and you want to root for them and you want to see them succeed. And so it's like, it's bittersweet because like they succeed, but at the cost of, you watch all of your characters die, and that's what has to happen.
Literally every single one of the Rogue One crew. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, when I saw the bomb get thrown into where the pilot guy was, I was like, bro, the grenade, like, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I mean, as much as those are like side characters that we only see in one movie,
sure,
you still care because like they contribute something to what is happening. They have their part, and then they go out doing what they need to. They all contribute to that in some way. And I think they highlight, like, it's not all the same. Everybody has it a little bit different. What was his name? Bodhi is the pilot who had the grenade thrown in the ship. And then also with Donnie Yen's character and his friend, who I'm not remembering his name. They had their own little moment as well. And then even like K2SO had his own little thing as well. And it's like, what's the line that K2SO says? He says the line right before he smashes down the console.
He said goodbye.
Oh no, crap. I
gotta
can't
find
remember.
this. I gotta find this because it's so good. It's so good right before. I'm not finding it.
Yeah, what the heck?
I feel like I don't remember. I feel. Was it something really like inspiring or tragic? I guess I don't remember. I just remember him saying, like, "I'm locking the vault door. Goodbye." And it was like a sad goodbye, and then he smashed the console.
Maybe it was a couple lines before that, not like exactly as he smashed the console, but I thought he said something about making it worth it, or wanting them to succeed or something. I could just be making that up. But his final is just a goodbye as it happens. But it's still like, he's a droid, and yet like that carries weight. And it's the same thing where it's like everyone, even as they go out, they're doing their part. They're doing what they need to for this cause. Everyone has to do their own little thing and sacrifice themselves in their own little way so that this one thing can happen. And there's so much weight to it. It reminds me of Andor and how Tony Gilroy writes things, where it's just like every little moment feels like the stakes are huge, and that it's very important to what's happening. And in this case, it was very important to what's happening. Furthermore, this is one of the best looking Star Wars movies. Charlie, you already kind of brought that up, but just visually incredible.
The whole Scarif planet, that was like,
Scarif was beautiful. Beautiful.
Bora Bora.
Yeah,
Bora Bora.
that's basically where I just was.
All right, buddy. All right,
no, but Scarif is beautiful. It like having such a devastating battle overall on such a beautiful place, even just like with Andor's and Jin's death, having that be on like it almost like, maybe this is reading too much into it, but it's almost like the nuclear explosion when they're on the beach. Not only is that beautiful, but it's almost symbolic of a sunrise, which we talked about earlier, where like the sunrise that you never get to see because you sacrifice yourself. And for them, it's like, as they're going out, they're seeing the light of just like, yeah, it's the end, but we did it. And then they go out together. And it's like a beautiful imagery that like is on one hand, it is beautiful, but also so devastating. And I think it's enhanced by the fact that we saw that happen earlier on Jeddah, with the first little test as well, where it's like, True. We know that impact, and it just carries a little bit more weight to it. So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. I asked about your rating because you prefaced by saying that you said this is a good Star Wars movie. So I was just curious, like, what that meant on an actual scale, because I would also give it an 8 out of 10 for me. But that's mainly because, let's be honest, Star Wars movies, not a lot of bangers. Not a lot of bangers. And like Andor the show is better than this movie is, for sure. Yeah. And I don't think I increased my rating of this movie after Andor at all. I definitely appreciated some things a little bit more, but it's not like this suddenly became like a way, way better movie now that I had a complete picture of the story. It was probably just like a little more enjoyable knowing more of the backstory, but it didn't make its score increase at all, which I think is like, it's a good sign, because this movie's been out for 9 years and I wouldn't want to watch it and just be like, oh, now all of a sudden this is like a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 movie. It's like, no, it's still, I view it the same, even though I have this really good project that gave me even more backstory to it. And then Charlie, everything you said I agree with completely. Mads Mikkelsen was good for the little bit that he was in it. And then Ben Mendelsohn, I love him as Krennic. I mean, I talked about the ISB stuff with Andor. Krennic was like the thing that I really liked about the ISB in this movie. His presence was felt. His screen presence is really great as an Imperial officer.
I want to say also, sorry to interrupt you, but it was really interesting to see like the difference in like the power level that he like operates in Andor versus where he is in Rogue One. Like how the people he has to answer to, or he's on the, I think, same-ish level as Tarkin is. Because I mean, he's like how he blew up at Tarkin, I guess. I don't know. I thought like, and he wasn't punished for that really, except for when Tarkin. But anyway,
yeah,
he's like constantly sucking up to everybody, trying his best, like to Vader. He's scared of Vader and scared of doing the wrong thing, and always he's essentially Partagaz in the last few episodes of Andor season 2. Like he's trying his best not to fail, and it's funny seeing him try to run around with like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to make sure that everything is going smoothly, running to Scarif and trying to make them scan through all of the files that Galen Erso sent, versus looking at him in Andor and his level of power, holding all of these meetings about what they're going to do on Gorman and his power over like Dedra, et cetera, over Partagaz. I don't know. It super, super cool with the hindsight of Andor. But sorry, continue.
No, I definitely agree with that. I was going to ask if you were thrown off, or did you notice anything weird with Tarkin as a character?
The CGI, is that what you mean?
Yeah. Did you know about that?
I didn't know about it, no. But the second I saw him on screen, I was like, oh, okay, this guy must be like in the original trilogy, and they want him to look like how he does there. And
yeah,
then when I saw Leia at the end, I was like, okay, yeah, for sure.
This was like super early into doing basically full CGI
Deepfakes.
face replacement. Deep fake didn't even exist back when this came out, really. At least not.
I do want to say Leia's looked much better than Tarkin's did, although Tarkin had much more screen time. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was just curious. I didn't know if you knew about that. I assume you I assume you noticed it. Um, I think it doesn't bother me as much now. Like I know about it, just kind of accept it. Doesn't change anything.
yeah, that's not. I want to also say like CGI stuff. I don't think that CGI stuff should be like a huge critique against a movie, like it looking good or bad. In a lot of ways, like I'm sure there's some exceptions as to like believability and like if I don't know, you wanted to if you're trying to art direction wise, you want to make a hyper realistic world and it just doesn't, the CGI fails in that way, then I think that's a reason for you to like, and you can't therefore get into the film and kind of engross yourself in it. I think that's a call, a reason for that, but largely like I don't know, a character's face looking somewhat wonky and maybe uncanny valley, a character that's not even a super prevalent in the story. I don't think that that wasn't going to take anything away from me personally.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Um, and I like his involvement just because there is overlap into the future of the story, and he is a pretty big part of episode 4. Just like introducing us to a new character with Krennic, and then still showing that overlap because he works for the ISB and Tarkin works on the Death Star, so it just makes sense. I like that dynamic. It is bold to go for the CGI choice rather than, you can do a sort of recast thing, or obviously deep fakes and CGI are a little bit better now, so you could do it nowadays. But when this came out, it was definitely like too early on for it to be done super well. Even for Tarkin's involvement, which realistically was not like a crazy amount in this movie, something like that, you could do this amount of deep fake really well nowadays. If you look at like the newest Indiana Jones movie, where you have a young Indy for like 20 minutes of the movie, and it looks really good, and you might be able to like it's CGI, but it doesn't cross. For some people, this crossed a line of just like too bothersome. But I think if you just like accept it, you can look past it, and then it doesn't affect your viewing of it.
I also want to say I didn't know that Darth Vader, does he need to be kept in a Bacta tank most of the time?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, I guess I didn't know that.
I don't know the exact extent of it, that he needs to be there, but where we went to on Mustafar, to his castle on Mustafar, he has a Bacta tank there. And then even like, I forget which movie it's in, but there's other scenes of him where like he's not always wearing the helmet, and that is more of a process as well. Like he has to, just because of what happens to him in episode 3, like it's necessary for him to survive.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, like, you haven't seen the movies in a while, but episode 5, Luke gets injured towards the beginning, and he's in a Bacta tank to heal himself as well. And the thing about Darth Vader is that his injuries are so severe that he has to basically like constantly go back to that and chase that in order to, at least that's my understanding of how it works, is he has to keep going back to make sure that he stays in good health, because his injuries are more severe.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Yeah. Aiden, your thoughts on Rogue One? We've been yapping a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I won't take too long. It's funny, I'm also at an 8 out of 10. I finished it last night and I was like, yeah, cool, this is cool. 4 out of 5 stars. So I'm right there with both of y'all. I think it's one of the better Star Wars movies. I'm excited to I think I'm probably. I mean, I've taken in so much Star Wars this past week. I think I might as well just watch the original trilogy as well. Um, I've already watched Revenge of the Sith. I also don't feel like. I mean, I really don't feel like watching the prequels. At least not episode 1 and 2. So I might just do original trilogy and sequel trilogy just so that I can actually throw my hat in the sequel trilogy discussion, because I haven't been able to since Rise of Skywalker came out in theaters, and I wouldn't watch it in theaters, and that's it. Haven't revisited those movies since. But yeah, in terms of Rogue One, it's great. The trilogy, the Seeds of the Rebellion trilogy that we just went on, is awesome. Heightens the movie, or heightens the character of Cassian in here for me. So whenever I see him say, "I've been in this fight for 6 years," it means something a lot more. But I agree, it doesn't really raise my thoughts on the movie that much more. I think it's a good movie. You know, the action's amazing, the characters are good. I wrote a letterbox review and I was like, well, it kind of feels like whenever you're starting a new TV show and you watch the first 2 episodes and you're like, okay, I like these characters, but I need some more. Like, I like them, I like where the story, I like the plot, but like, I definitely need to watch at least 3 more episodes before I can really be engaged. That's kind of how I feel watching the movie. I'm like, I like these characters. I love the story they're telling. You know, this is great, but I need a little bit more time if I'm really going to care about all of them as much as I'm supposed to. Of course, Cassian, I do. You know, I was focused on him every scene. Jyn Erso, kind of a boring character. Kind of a really boring character. I'm not going to lie. It seems like, I don't know, she seems very one dimensional to me. It's yeah, I don't know. It was a weird twist. It was a weird, you know, just twist and turn of her being like, I don't care about the rebellion. Oh, my father wants me to be a part of this, and like has kind of forced me to be a part of this. Okay, I love the rebellion. I'll die for the rebellion, for my father. And it's like, oh, okay, I don't know.
It was just
I couldn't
rushed.
really
It
buy
was
it.
rushed.
I couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy into it. That's my only problem with the movie. Everything else is absolutely gorgeous. Krennic is again a top tier Star Wars character. We didn't talk about his little like boop on Dedra where he just puts his finger on her head. Like, that actually he said was improvised, that wasn't in the script. And it's just cool things like that I like. I love Ben Mendelsohn, and the things that he can add to a character like Krennic. It's a cool new taste of a ISB Imperial officer. So yeah, great movie. You know, it's great Star Wars. I love this trilogy, and yeah, Andor is one of the best Star Wars characters of all time. Let's go.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, after the show, it's hard to disagree with that. Just so much time with him, and having what now feels like a very complete arc. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
great. Just great.
Fun stuff.
Good Star Wars. Very happy. We don't get that very often.
Never got to say goodbye to his sister. Never got to say goodbye to his mom. Never got to say goodbye to Bix.
Never got to say hi to his child. Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy, bro.
Last thing I'll mention, just because it's relevant to Rogue One, the director Gareth Evans is the guy who directed the 2014 Godzilla movie, and then did Rogue One, and then most recently did The Creator a couple years ago, and also is doing the Jurassic World movie that comes out this summer, which
that I'm really excited for.
It gives me hope, because
yeah,
I think he just shows like he understands sci-fi very well, and he can go into a franchise like Star Wars, and he can give you a high quality movie. And we don't have a good modern day Jurassic World movie, and we don't like all of the new ones are mediocre or bad. None of them are good. So I'm actually really excited for what he's going to deliver with a new Jurassic World. And I'm glad that he's doing it, just because Rogue One and then The Creator, like honestly, like I rate all of his sci-fi movies very similarly. Like the creator, Rogue One, and Godzilla are all
8
like
out of 10.
7s or 8s out of 10, and like so if I get an 8 out of 10 Jurassic World movie, I'll be very, very happy.
Yeah, I like. There were a lot of shots in here because obviously, I saw Rogue One at on just on my phone on a plane, but then I watched the creator, and then going back to Rogue One, I was like, oh, you can definitely tell that there's a lot of Gareth Edwards on here. Like I can, there were a lot of shots in here that just looked like the creator, and so I was like, okay, cool. And I refuse to watch any Godzilla or King Kong movie, but maybe I'll check out the 2014 one. Just It's just not my. I can go on a whole spiel. Whatever. I hate those movies. But maybe I'll check out the 2014 one since he did that, and I am also excited for the Jurassic World. But yeah, the Jurassic World looks a lot doesn't like fit the whole. Which granted, it's not Creator or Rogue One vibes. It's Jurassic World, so it looks a little bit different. But it's funny that this and the Creator kind of had a lot of shots where I was like, okay, this kind of go hand in hand. You can tell it was made by the same guy.
Yeah. With that being said, our final section is talking about.
Can we skip it?
I was gonna ask who wants to go first.
You have to go first, Ben.
Oh yeah, you have to go first because
I have to go first.
Talked
Okay.
about episode 4.
Yeah, episode 4 and then episode 5 from this week. I watched them back to back just a couple days ago. I watched them together. I'm gonna lump my thoughts together, to be honest, because I feel a lot of the same things watching both episodes. To build off of what I thought previously, I still am finding it very hard to care about what is happening in this show. I care about our characters, and I like the relationship dynamic that's happening with Ellie and Dina. There's some weird little critiques that I'll get into that I have with their relationship, just like things that realistically don't make sense. But as a whole, like obviously I care about them as characters, but it's really just it's their whole mission right now to hunt down and kill Abby and everyone else who was in that room and involved in Joel's death. It's like the way I think about it is if next episode they found Abby and killed Abby, I would not care that much about it because I still am at that point of like, it felt so rushed. We just jumped into it and we killed off Joel. And I feel like we need to take a step back because we missed years upon years of tension building between Ellie and Joel. Like I don't have that foundation to care as much about Joel's death as I should, which means that I don't care as much about Ellie's revenge as I should. And so because of that, since that's really the main thing that's happening right now, I don't care that much. Like I'm watching the episode and it's getting to the point where if these episodes are going to remain similar, which is, there's a couple of little things that are introduced, like Isaac and the wolves and whatnot. You have these little things that like spice it up along their journey. Otherwise, you're just going back to Ellie and Dina joking around with each other, having these little moments, loving each other, whatever. Like, if that's all this is going to be, I feel like each week it's going to get like more and more boring of just like, I need something else. I need something more because I feel like we've just rushed into it and we haven't established this enough for me to inherently care about it just because it's Ellie and Dina trying to hunt down Abby. I don't care about that automatically because they didn't set it up well enough. That's more my like general take on this whole show so far, this whole season so far. More specifically, like with these episodes, it just doesn't like not a lot is happening it feels like we're not making a lot of progress on our journey. I mean, there's little bits, like obviously we get into the hospital in the end of episode 5. We're at a bigger place with the interaction that's happening with Ellie. But other than that, like we've really just been going building to building, avoiding clickers, and then rejoining with previous characters. And then I don't know if I'm supposed to be more enticed by this storyline with like Isaac and is it what are they called? The
Scars.
Seraphites.
Oh.
Seraphite.
Whoa, you just throwing out the slur right off the bat, huh?
them damn scars over there.
The Seraphites, and with Isaac and whatnot, like I don't know if I missed something and if there's already something that I'm supposed to really care about with that. But at this point, it's just kind of another thing that's happening and another maybe roadblock or another piece to this puzzle. But at this point, it's not like nothing there has really brought me in. I like Jeffrey Wright, and I think, you know, he plays a character that fits really well into this universe. I like him as an actor. But any of the scenes where we cut to him with his crew or torturing a guy, I'm just like, am I missing something that I'm supposed to care about? And it's kind of the same thing with everything else that's been set up. It's like, it almost feels like, in a weird way, it feels like this season might have been made for people who have already played the games and already know the story. And so they can watch this and they can enjoy it because they know where it's going and they have the full context for it. But for me, just watching the show, I'm finding it hard to care about these things because they're not setting it up well. And it's weird because season 1 I loved, and they set up the characters well, and Joel and Ellie, like I was fully on board with that, and some incredibly sad moments in the first couple of episodes with some of the other characters. I was in. And this is just like missing that spark, and it just feels like they're really making this for people who already care, and they're not allowing me, who doesn't know these things, they're not bringing me in with it. And then just a random other specific couple moments that I wanted to bring up, just how I said that Ellie and Dina's relationship, there was a couple of things that I didn't like and I don't think make a lot of sense. Obviously, there's the whole, which we can just get into spoilers about these couple of episodes. I think that's fine. There's the whole thing about Dina learning that Ellie is immune, and then like immediately the next morning they start making out, and like I'm like,
not even the next morning, bro. It's the next moment. It's the next moment.
And it's like, okay, I get it. It's emotional. She just said that she was pregnant. 1, terrible moment to say that you're pregnant. Terrible moment. 2, when emotions are heightened like that, I don't think it's natural for you to then just be horny. I'm just going to put it out there. And 3, even if you think that Ellie is immune, she still has blood and a bite on her arm, and you're going to swap saliva with her? Like, okay, at the end of episode 5, Ellie's breathing in all this crap, right? All these particles, and she's immune. That's fine. What's she going to go and kiss Dina? Like, what? That just seems really
just
dumb.
In her lungs.
Yeah, it just seems, those things just like, it seems a little unrealistic. And like, that didn't take away too much. That's more just like, really, like, this is what people would do in this situation, and it feels like these people should be smarter. But I also get the perspective of like, Ellie and Dina at this point really only have each other, and they are kind of discovering the love that they have for one another along this journey that's kind of tied to it, and all that entails. But it still was just like little weird things where I'm just like, really, that's the choice that you make. And then this like isn't really a flaw. But it's true. I'll see clips on Instagram or on Twitter where people will take scenes from these last couple of episodes where it's just Ellie and Dina bantering and joking with one another, and they just put like a Disney Channel laugh track behind it at all the jokes.
Bro, that's why Aiden sent me one. Dude, there's one. Oh my god, I was dying so bad. The one Aiden sent me, bro, it was like the Hannah Montana like transition music. Ooh, wow, wow. It was so
And I'm sorry, but like some of that feels accurate. Some of it feels accurate. Some of it feels true. And then the last thing I'll say is I saw somebody today, they posted the clip of when Dina is talking about her experience the first time that she killed somebody, and she related that to Joel's death. And somebody just pointed out, they're just like, watch Bella Ramsey's acting in this scene. And so I was sitting there and I was just watching just Bella Ramsey and her reaction to it. And the top comment was, why does it seem like Dina cares more about Joel's death than Ellie?
Oh my god!
I was
Thank
like,
you. Yes.
I was like,
yes.
that's kind of
Yes.
that's a good point. It
Yes.
seems like it. It does seem like it. Sorry, one final thing, and then I'll be done. The end of episode 5. I'm hoping what that means is that we are now flashing back to the past, and that we are going to learn more things about the time period that we missed in between season 1 and season 2. I'm hoping that that's what it means. That's
Did you watch the preview for next week's episode?
I didn't. I've been avoiding that just because I assume that even within that they might talk about, we intentionally did this so that we can set up so and so.
Oh yeah.
Like,
don't watch that stuff.
I just don't watch those.
But I just mean like there's like a little usually there's like a 20-second thing that shows you on the next episode of the last, like it'll show you like clips from the next episode.
I did not.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not a spoiler then, because yes, that's what it seems like. That's
Joel is alive still and has come back.
Yeah.
It was all a dream.
Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping, and that makes me like, that's what I wanted, but we're 2 or 3 episodes too late on that. So like,
sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I want Aiden to go before me, but I have some questions for you. So I know I hear what you're saying with like if Abby died next episode, if they got Abby, you wouldn't care all that much. And so you don't feel any sort of like you want Abby to die because of what she did to Joel? Like you're not in on the revenge path. Like I hear what you're saying about like you don't know what happened with Ellie and Joel. Like you have no, like it's hard for you to connect with that part. But just with your connection with Joel from season 1, and then now you didn't get more Joel because of Abby. Do you feel any sort of like fuck? Excuse me, I know we're trying not to cuss. You don't feel any sort of like Abby should go. Like you don't feel that?
Well, like obviously I'm upset at Joel's death, and I'm all on board with taking revenge because of that. What I more so mean is like specifically because we didn't set up to that death. Like obviously I care about the fact that Joel died, and like the death itself, that matters to me. But since it felt so just rushed into it, I feel like in order to care about this whole story of revenge that they're setting up, and to care about, I'm sure at some point Ellie does kill Abby, and if that happens, in order to care about that, I need more establishment of that time in between. And it's not enough for me just that like, oh, Abby showed up and killed Joel in 2 episodes. Like I care to an extent, but it's not enough for me. Like it will be very, like obviously I know, and I assume I mean I said this from the 2nd episode. I assumed that we were going to go back in time and we're going to build more of a bridge and we're going to learn more about it. But let's say that wasn't the case, and like they were actually going to continue along with Ellie's revenge story against Abby, and we weren't going to learn more. It would be so underwhelming. It would just feel like, okay, we killed off Joel. Like, we understand the reason, but too fast, and we still don't have a full picture of what's going on. Ellie gets her revenge. Like, at this point, here's a better way to put it. If Ellie got her revenge right now, I would not fully understand all of the emotional weight that goes into that revenge, because I don't know the emotional weight of the relationship and everything that happened with Joel. Some of that is missing. And so that piece really undermines the action in and of itself, even if, yeah, like I want her to get revenge on Abby. It will just be so much different if we don't lay that foundation.
Okay. Aiden, I want you to go first.
Alrighty, episode 5. There was quite a bit of things that went down that I enjoyed quite a bit in this episode. The introduction of spores, I think, is really cool. I actually didn't know that was coming. I know, Charlie, you have probably mentioned that, and you've probably talked about it in other episodes. I guess I just like completely wrote off spores would ever be a thing in the show. So, which I guess wouldn't make sense, seeing as I knew we were going to get the Nora stuff this episode. Regardless, though, I think I was just caught off guard by it, really is all. So the spore stuff was really cool. I like that intro a lot with, I that lady getting interrogated about why she sent her best man out there to die. And, just a lot of the stuff I like about the first season with those cold opens, especially like the Outbreak cold open, one of the coolest moments in any TV show I've ever seen. I'll go through the episode just, scene by scene. Yeah, the Dina and Ellie stuff. I guess Craig Mazin said on the podcast that, Jesus Christ, I don't even want to.
I want to prep before you. I listened to the podcast I heard this before this was a big, because every episode I listen to the podcast after I watched the show, and so yeah. But continue. I don't know what to say.
It's character assassination. That's all it is. It's just straight up character assassination of Ellie. This episode was character assassination of Jesse, and of Dina. And
that's interesting.
I'll get to that when I get later. That Dina and Ellie's relationship feels more like a mother and child.
Yeah. Like
which
parent-child relationship
is just so effed on so many different levels. You have no idea how bad I want to say that fully. It is just it's just odd. It's an odd take on the characters. I've said this before. Ellie is literally one of my favorite characters of all time across any medium. I absolutely love Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2. So to see this route that they're taking with her, again, Ben, you hit the nail right on the head, and other people have said this too. It feels like Dina's lost her dad and not Ellie. She's sitting there I'm triangulating, I'm trying to figure this, and whatever. I'm trying to get to the bottom of where Abby and her crew is at so that we can go and obliterate them and get revenge. And Ellie's just making jokes the whole time. It's just season 1 Ellie. It's just The Last of Us Part 1 Ellie. And Last of Us Part 1 Ellie was probably a little bit more mature than HBO season 2 Ellie. That's an over exaggeration, but still, she's just sunshine and rainbows, not hell bent. And they try and do this moment where she sits there and she brings out Future Days. I was a sucker for. All right, that was awesome. They try and do this moment where she finally locks in and she finally snaps at that, but then they follow it up with her immediately being like, Dina, we can go back. Just say the word. If it I don't want to have to put you through this. And then Dina has to motivate her to get revenge, to remind her of why she's doing this in the first place. Dina has to be that driving force for her. Dina has to motivate her. Ellie is not fueled by that revenge herself. She's not fueled by that rage herself. Dina is constantly having to put her back on the right track, which is fine.
I disagree with that point, but I'll
Okay.
I'll talk
Which is fine. I love Dina. Ellie doesn't exist. The show doesn't function without Dina and Ellie. But I don't know. It's moments like that. And Charlie, I'm sure you'll be able to kind of tell me why I'm wrong in thinking that, because I'm not absolutely married to that idea, but just in that conversation, in that moment, it really felt like Ellie pulling back and Dina having to get her back on, saying, look, I can leave if you want, or I can join, or I can, stay with you, giving Ellie that decision to keep going with Dina or not. But, still, it just, her bringing up Joel and everything about relating her experiences to Joel felt a lot like having to motivate Ellie to keep on this path. And then Jesse pops in. We find out that Tommy is with them. They left just the night after. Okay, fine. We had those complaints last week, and yeah, I know. We tried to talk about ways that Tommy could go in there, and Ben will. We can explain this to you whenever. We don't have to do it on this episode just because we're already long-winded. But the whole like Tommy of it all versus the game in here. We can get to that one whenever we feel like it. But yeah, I don't know. Jesse in the game he's just so like, I couldn't let my friends do this. Like, I couldn't let my friend go alone and not come with them on this journey. Like, I couldn't let you do this by yourself. And in here, he's just like, do I look like I want to effing talk to you right now? Like, oh yeah, no, I knew it was Dina. I didn't think for a second it was you. And I'm like, all right, dude, like, for what? For what? Why are we making Jesse a douchebag? Why are we making Jesse just like hate Ellie and just like not? What's the reason? And why is Ellie just let him push her over like that? Like, she constantly just tucks her tail between her legs every time Jesse raises her voice at her. Like, why, bro? Like, why are we not letting her stand on her own? Why can't we let Ellie exist and stand on her own without having to lean so heavy on Dina and now Jesse? Like, you introduced Jesse just to be another crutch for Ellie, and he's just being a douche to her. I don't know. It's just like, again, it's just not my Jesse. It's not what I would have wanted. It's not what I was expecting from Jesse to pop back up and come join this fight. And then, obviously, the end. I was beefing with Charlie on Twitter over this week. Just I thought the scene was fine. Her and Nora. It's not so much a Bella Ramsey thing at all. And none of what I'm saying is like, and that's why I keep like specifying Ellie. It's not a Bella Ramsey thing. It's a Craig Mazin writing Ellie thing. It's I guess Neil Druckmann just not wanting to raise his voice in the writing room or just be like, yeah, let's change this because I regret doing that the second time around. I don't know what it is, dude, but I got 2 words for you: character assassination. No, it looks like I know I'm acting like I'm going like super hard on this, but like, I don't know. It is just more frustrating than anything. The end scene I thought was good. Bella Ramsey is doing the absolute best that they can do with what they're given. So that's why I can't say like, oh, this scene sucked or whatever. I thought it was fine for what it is. Compared to the game, the rage ain't there, buddy. You can you can go back and forth with me on Twitter all you want.
I disagree with that too.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. Just like Ellie just absolutely bashing her head in with the pole in the game versus HBO Ellie just hitting her leg. Tell me, where's Abby? It's just, and the thing is, the whole reason why I'm making this point is because the camera zooms out and we deliberately see that she's hitting her leg, and it's like, why could I don't see how her hitting her head like in the game and bashing her head in with the pipe and still screaming, "Where's Abby?" How that doesn't hit more, how that doesn't get your point across of a revengeful and a rageful Ellie across more, unless you're not trying to write her that way, which is what they've shown us these past 3 episodes. So it leads me to believe this is on purpose and they're doing it for that reason. I might be jumping the gun. I might be looking too far into it. It's not my Ellie. I'm sorry. This is not my Ellie.
I mean, well, I would just say to that. Well, first thing I want to say, it's funny talking about Neil in this context because I feel like Neil, no matter what, Neil wins. Like he comes out a winner on either side of it. If the show was good, he gets to say he was a part of it and helped Craig Mazin do the right things. Show's bad. Well, guess what? I wrote the game and the game's still good. So, as to what you're saying, my pushback would be like hitting her upside the head, like in a non like video game setting. This is like a more grounded, realistic, because like Ellie's not taking out as many guys as she does in the game, right? Like bashing Nora upside the head and still trying to get information out of her with a gigantic lead pipe. Like, come on, bro. Like you're not. she hits her once. Where is that? Like that's not.
Come on, tell
bro.
me. Come on.
Like that's not happening. And in the podcast, Craig says that like, oh, when Abby was killing Joel, she hit him in the knee, and now Ellie's hitting Nora in the knee. I'm like, bro, what does that matter? Like, what does like? I get like she's supposed to like I'm torturing her in the same way that Joel was torturing. And yes, I would argue yes in the game like that symbolism is much more prominent. But here like it seems like you're trying to manufacture it in a way that just is so it's so surface level that like because like think about like first Abby blew Joel's kneecap off with a shotgun and then started swinging on it with a golf club. That has to hurt infinitely worse than just a lead pipe straight to the knee. But whatever. Before I continue in on like what you were talking about, Aiden, I want to kind of jump in and not that it needs support, but what Ben was saying about episode 4, like, oh my God, man, like that was such a bad, like it was like, the best way I've heard it described, these aren't my words, and I think I probably said this to Aiden already, but it's like a bad fan fiction off of like Wattpad or whatever. Like it was just like, and the way they described it in the podcast was that Dina was just because Dina initiated it, right? After she said she was pregnant. Dina just thought she was about to lose Ellie, and all those thoughts about potentially losing her were all rushing in at once. And she's like, I can't lose you. I need to do this before I potentially lose you again. And it's like, none of that is conveyed at all. None of that, like, not, that's not to say that like Isabella Merced is a bad actress. I thought actually for episode 4, she was the standout. And even in episode 5, I think she's also a fantastic standout of an actress. But that was just none. I got none of that. And even if that was the case, both of these characters, Ellie and Dina, just found out some crazy information about the other one. And we're casting that aside to finger blast each other for some reason. Like, what are we doing, man? Dina, you just found out that supposedly the person that you love, even though the episode prior you were talking about how she's gay and you're not, and you're being kind of mean about it. The episode prior, you were teasing her about how she acts in her love life, and you're like, I just got back with my ex actually right before we went on this trip, and now you're the next morning after they finger blast each other, she's talking about how she had this future envisioned where they were going to have a kid together and whatnot. What? Whoa, where did this come from? Last night you just told her that you were enjoying getting back with your ex. Like this, it's not. I'm getting so much whiplash here. It's insane. But anyway, Dina, you just found out that the person that you claim to love is the only immune person you've ever seen in your entire life to this infection that destroyed the entire planet. And you just, no questions whatsoever. You're just like, let's finger blast. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about right now? And then Ellie, you just found out that the girl who manipulated you and just essentially like bragged about how she got back with Jesse right before y'all went on the trip is now pregnant with Jesse's baby. And you're like, nah, bro, let's do it. Let's finger blast, bro. Like, what? Oh my God. Talk about terrible writing, bro. That entire scene was so hilariously cornily bad. Anyway, going into episode 5, I 100% agree with what I believe you said it, Aiden. Like, well, Ben, you mentioned like the laugh track and that stuff working, and yeah, it's the spacing of it all. It absolutely works like that, and even the writing and weirdly enough, the blocking was almost like a Disney Channel show too. But anyway, it's almost like they're making Dina and Ellie switch character traits from the game. And also, Ben, I want to push back a little bit on what you said about how they're writing the show. I do think to some degree they are writing the show for people who played the game. Like, absolutely. I think that they have those people in mind when they're writing the show. But for the most part, from what I've seen, people who played the game and enjoyed the game, like, if they're trying to write for us, they're doing a terrible job. They're doing a pretty bad job.
That's the other option, because for me, it's like, if you guys were really enjoying it, because Aiden said episode 2 was his favorite episode of the whole show so far.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So if you're really enjoying something like that, then it feels like they're writing it for people who already care about these things because they know where we're going. That's all I was saying, is that's what it feels like. But that's also me saying this is not very good. And the other alternative is that it's just not very good.
Yeah. And what I will say about, and I know you don't have a touchstone for this, but for those scenes where like Dina's triangulating on the map and I wouldn't use the word stupid. I would just use like, you're not academically inclined or whatever she said. Like, I don't know. After, what's the vibe you get, I should ask, actually, after you just saw an entire season 1 of her and Joel surviving in a gruesome world. Joel, the survivalist, right? Do you get the vibe that Ellie even had to survive on her own for a little bit when Joel was injured? Do you get the vibe that Ellie was like, is just stupid in a way that she would not be able to, I don't know, can carry out this sort of mission?
I think what it's trying to portray, and they don't even do this well because there's too much joking and unserious moments within it. But I feel like what they're trying to portray is that Ellie has this built up rage within her to take revenge on Abby, and that Dina is there as her support system to like help her achieve that goal. And I think that was more well portrayed in episode 3, like when, there's the first decision to start going on this revenge journey from Ellie. I think I got that more there. But now it feels more like what Aiden said, kind of a mother-daughter relationship where Dina is just babying Ellie. But that's what I think they're going for. It's just like she's so enraged and out of control and reckless that she needs Dina there to guide her in this journey. But they're not doing that well.
Mm-hmm. And if they were, I think I would enjoy it more. But then when I look at Ellie cracking jokes like they're straight out of the joke book that she was walking around with in season 1, how am I supposed to buy into the fact that she's apparently so overcome with rage for Joel, right?
Yeah.
And I've made TikToks about this. I've talked about how I hope that it's going to get better, and we see hints of it, like in episode 4 when she sees the broadcast tower that says WLF. She wants to head straight there, right? And Dina has to be like, no, let's wait till night, yada yada yada. but like just hints of it. Like I don't think that there should just be hints of it, and that's why in the game the Schmecks scene. I don't know if we can say that on YouTube. That happens before Joel dies, and I think that that should have stayed the case here, because how do you have that happen after Joel's death when Ellie is supposed to be so like overcome with this determination to get this mission done, and she almost has nothing else on her mind. And so when you have that scene after the fact, it's like a tonal whiplash. You wanting me to expect that she still feels that, but she's wanting to finger blast her girlfriend all at the same time. Like I get it, people are emotionally complex. I understand that. And lately, right now, people's argument on TikTok especially is that, oh, she's been masking the entire time. You haven't even shown me hints of that until episode 5, when she plays the guitar, when she plays the Future Days for a little bit. I've seen no hints of her masking her emotions except for episode 5, and then when she left the hospital in episode 3 right after Joel's death. Those are the only 2 examples I've seen of her masking her emotions. So far in Seattle, nothing. It's not clicking. There's no through line, there's no thread. And so when we see the guitar scene, I'm like, all right, that's great, that's cool. And this is where I disagree with you, Aiden. I think that Ellie she's on that right track mind, right? When they're out there looking at the pile of dead Seraphite bodies. And then Ellie has this moment. It's a human moment and an empathetic moment for Dina, in the sense that, like, because this is what she says verbatim. She says, "What are we doing here? Why, you're pregnant. Why did I bring you with me on this trip? Do you want to go back? You do not have to do this with me." She says, "You don't have to do it with me," implying she's going to, like, if Dina wants to go back, she'll go back, but Ellie's going to come back without her. And so therefore, I think that what Dina says there about, she gets kind of pissy about it. And she's like, "You never asked me about the first person I killed." I think she gets pissy about it because, like, she takes a little bit of offense to, like, having Ellie try to leave it up to Dina, and Dina tells her this whole story as to, like, this is what happened to my family, but if it happened to me like it happened to you, because I just walked in on my mom and sister dead, but if I walked in, the guy held me down, made me watch as he did it, I'd hunt that guy forever. I think that she's telling Ellie, like, I'm with you in this because that's horrible. That shouldn't have happened to you. I want to do this with you. If you want me to go back, I will. But I want you to know I'm 100% down for this. I think that's what she's trying to convey with that, more so than trying to steer Ellie into having those emotions and, like, telling Ellie how she should feel about it. Again, I'm in agreement with you that I don't think we've seen Ellie have those emotions as much as we should have by now. But I don't think that Dina is trying to steer her in that direction, me personally. But then we have the Jesse scene. I'll push back with you a little bit on the Jesse thing too, just because, like, I don't know, Jesse, obviously he wasn't douchey in the game, and I know what moment you're talking about, where he says, like, my friends can't get out of their own damn way. So, like, he's there to help his friends and whatnot. But still, he's very much, like, in the game, when he's there, he's not there to help Ellie on her mission. Like, he's very much there to get them and go home, like he is here. Like, he's there to get them, and then when I'm trying to think if I can say this. Yeah, I can say this. It's not a spoiler. And so then when there's a moment when, like, Ellie, they have a plan to go home and Ellie detracts from that plan, like, he's pissed, like, you know, but that's as far as I'll go with that. But to get to the Nora stuff and a little bit of the Seraphite stuff, Ellie not pushing back against Jesse, what you're saying there, I somewhat agree with you, just from, like, the stance of, like, game Ellie would very much, like, she she'd continue to argue with him about it, I'm sure. I think the way that if I'm just going to critique the way that they've written this version of Ellie, I think that that's so far in line with like, I'm sure she feels bad somewhat for the resources and time, and now she's putting more people in danger. Like, she already feels bad about putting Dina in danger, and now she just unwillingly brought 2 more people out here to be in harm's way. And so when Jesse's like pissed at her and like, do I look like I want to talk to you right now? Like, she takes that and she'll internalize it or whatever. But she understands that she did wrong in that situation. I think that's why she doesn't push back on it so hard. Another moment we see the rage, the determination, I should say, not the rage. When Dina gets shot, everything's happening. The Seraphites are going willy-nilly, and th're starting to chase them. They split up. Ellie's like, I think they say they're going to meet up at the theater, and Ellie's like, we'll meet up, I promise. We're going to split up for a second, and we'll meet right back up. But then Ellie sees the doorway to the hospital or whatever. Instantly just forgets about that plan to meet up, and she's like, Nora's there. I have to go after Nora. Little tiny moment of the determination. Again, I think we should have seen more, and I also think it was a little just like not great setup for it. I think there's one other moment at the end of episode 4 when they're standing on the rooftop and they find out that Nora's in that hospital. They see the hospital in the distance, and Ellie's like, I need to get there. But so that's a little bit of like a touchstone on that. As for the spores, actually, Ben, what did you think about the spores before I continue? Like, because I know you don't have a touchstone for them.
I mean, I don't know. I'm indifferent about it at this point. Like, I guess I haven't seen them really serve a significant enough purpose to really have thoughts on it. It's like okay, that's a thing that exists, and like, I'll see where it goes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's too early to really have like an opinion. I don't know. Sure. I'm sure you guys know more of the context of how they might be used. I'm pretty certain I know that they really changed that from the games compared to the show, and even like they should have really been around since season 1, if I understand correctly.
For the way they're handling it in the show, I think it makes sense with
okay.
how they've shown up now. In the game, they are much more prominent in the world. They're everywhere. They're almost within like every building. If infected have been there for a little bit of time, they're there. People have to wear gas masks all the time. It seems like for the show this time, they're going for like one area that's been like infested for a really long time, and it's been closed off from the world. Then it has time to fester. Like 20, 25 years it's been. It has time to fester, and spores can grow. I do actually like that. I think that's a cool way of bringing them in. So do I think they could have been there in season 1? Yeah, but.
And did they do that just because like it's almost inconvenient to write around spores if they exist in the world? Is that the reason why?
To a certain degree, yeah. One of the reasons they said this on the podcast too, when talking about this episode, that one of the reasons was so the actors didn't have to be in gas masks all the time. So yeah, I'm sure there's an element of that, and I think they brought them in now because this scene with Nora doesn't necessarily work as well. I'm sure there was a way to write it, but it wouldn't have worked as well. Specifically with Nora finding out that Ellie is the immune girl from the hospital that was supposed to undergo surgery. So I think that's why they included them. As for writing around them, I'm pretty sure it just adds up to the gas mask thing. And then like, I think they also said something about like when you walk out, like it'd be all over your clothes, and like there's no realistic way of. I don't think we're gonna see that through line though. Like there's no way that Ellie's gonna have to like pat herself down before she gets back to the theater.
Well, and you were correct about like all that crap she's put in her lungs. Like realistically, her and Dina should never kiss again. Just gonna say it.
Yeah, I'm sure they won't go that realistic with it, truthfully. And it was never like that in the game either. But for a more grounded take, I do think that's where it should go, but I don't think they will do that either. And then finally, what I disagree with you on, Aiden, I think the rage was on full show here with Nora. I thought I don't know how you don't say that, other than maybe like the intimidation factor isn't quite there, and I think that is a sort of, what's the right word? That's a maybe a bad call for Bella. Like I'm not feeling as she's walking up to Nora, I'm not feeling like
Well,
oh wow, this is like some stuff is about to happen, you know?
no, I didn't necessarily think the rage wasn't there. Like I said, I think Bella Ramsey did an amazing job with what they were given. It was more so just the metal pipe
And
scene
hitting the leg.
And I guess, I mean, if I had to critique any more, it'd probably be just like her short answers, like not really, like they just didn't give her enough to convey. But I think she did an amazing job, or I think Bella Ramsey did an amazing job portraying the rage as best as they could with what they were given. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the writing just was not working for me in that moment, the dialogue they were having, but Bella Ramsey was absolutely killing it.
Sure, and I agree, except for when she's when Ellie and when Bella, when they're walking up to Nora, I didn't quite feel that, but then when they're doing that to Nora, like when Ellie says, "Where is she?" the last one right before it cuts to black and then cuts to the flashback, I had chills on that one, and I feel like it's also very much like the when she screams, "You're all gonna effing die," and when Joel's killed. I also thought that was a very powerful, rageful moment for her. Another issue that I have with this scene is, and they try to explain this again in the podcast, but it's the exposition dump that Nora has towards Ellie, in the sense that, like, she's again, it's reiterated to us what Joel did, who he killed, how he killed them, how violent and gruesome it was. I get the purpose of it. They say this in the podcast. We've been wondering this whole time if Ellie knows what Joel did, and here it's revealed that Ellie did know. Ellie did know, and there's for your sake, Ben. There's a little bit of a difference from that in the game. At this moment, Ellie does not know, or at least it's not clear that Ellie knows why Joel was killed. Like, she knows that they were Fireflies, Abby's group, but she doesn't know that Joel killed Abby's dad necessarily. I think Ellie believes that they're mad because no cure was made because of Joel. So in terms of like how the rest of the game plays out, I can't get into that without spoiling it. There's potential like writing issues that could come up with Ellie knowing that, but I think they're writing a very different Ellie. I don't think this is the same Ellie as the game. And so I laugh when you say not your Ellie, Aiden, but like I think you're right. I think it's not your Ellie. I think it's different, because I think that they've been setting this Ellie up. But here's my worry too, and before I detract from that thought, let me finish it. I think they've been setting this Ellie up since season 1, like an Ellie that is fascinated with violence. My issue and my worry comes from, like, this is a different Ellie, but they're almost treating her like she's not a different Ellie. Like, in the game, this isn't a spoiler, Ben. In the game, after she comes out of the Nora thing, like, she has a moment of like, what the hell did I just do? Like, oh my, like I was kind of a monster there for a moment, and like she has to sit there and like Dina has to comfort her for a second, you know, that kind of thing. If that happens here, I don't buy that. I like this Ellie, like she. From the moment that in episode 1 of season 1, when Joel gets on top of that soldier, starts beating him to death, she watches and stares in awe. Like, this Ellie loves violence, is fascinated by it, again, like I said. So how am I supposed to believe her struggles with this? And this is why I also, again, later game stuff that I can't really touch on fully, I feel like when it comes to Ellie's arc, it's just going to do a disservice to it unless they're doing it in a very specific way, and which is why I'm like not trying to write off the show entirely, and like I'm going to see it through, obviously, even if it was painfully bad. But this version, I struggle to see that this arc that they're maybe having Ellie go on be as impactful, because if they're so wishy-washy with her ideals and the way she goes about violence and how that affects her, it's almost just like, what's the point? Like, what's the deeper story we're telling? Because one of the big things they always say on the podcast too, Neil says, I don't want to change things from the game unless it's better. And so far, everything they've changed from the game, it's not really better. Like this season specifically, season 1, I think like episode 3, the Bill and what's it?
Frank.
Frank, thank you. Bill and Frank's episode, like that was a big change from the game, and I thought that was great. I thought it was one of the best episodes of the season. One of the best episodes of TV I've probably seen. It was really, really good. The changes in season 2, I don't see the purpose of them. I don't see how it better services the story of the game. If you're trying to, and I don't want this to be a carbon copy of the game. I think that'd be a waste of my time to see. But I don't know. I struggle to see the wisdom here in it. I don't know. I've been yapping for a minute. Episode 5, I thought was pretty good. It was a step up from 4. I didn't really appreciate 4. I enjoyed a lot of what episode 5 had to offer action-wise, in terms of Ellie's character and her determination on this mission. And I don't know if we'll see more of it next episode, since it seems like next episode is largely flashback stuff, which is kind of worrisome to me because there's only 2 episodes left. So yeah, there's only 7 episodes this season. So with one episode being a flashback episode, and then episode 7 being the finale, like that's
no.
Yeah, bro.
It's Charlie. I will say, without spoilers, it looks like it is going to end off on the spot you called it on the second after the second episode came out. It is lining up
because they said something on the podcast that points to as much. Like he said a specific moment, which I can't say, but he said Neil said like that we get to. There's a specific moment that Ellie gets to in episode 7, and like it's a clear hint as to as to the big thing. But
so it is this. I know that this second game is getting split into at least 2, maybe 3 seasons. So do you think that is what one of the big we have 2 episodes left, and at least for me, I don't know that in 2 episodes they can really recover where we're currently at. They could do it in another season. They could leave us off on a moment and then bring it back in another season. But are some of these issues happening because they're extending this out so much and over multiple seasons? Like, I feel like that's playing a factor here, and I can't fully know because I don't know where we're going.
I genuinely feel like it should be better if you're doing it that way. Like, this should be built upon better. All the changes that you're doing should be looked at as season 1 changes, where they are great and at the very least they barely hurt like what you've done in the game. You have a whole 7 or 8 episodes to do the first half of The Last of Us Part 2. You should build upon every single moment as much as you can. Like I don't see how you make it worse doing this.
And honestly, to me, I would say that it feels rushed, if anything. Even with them doing potentially 3 seasons, two maybe 3 seasons, it so far has seemed rushed. Especially like 2 episodes left, and then what Aiden and I are talking about that's supposed to happen in episode 7, like that is it's sort of baffling to me. But
jeez, okay.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm a little upset.
Yeah.
This is rough for me.
Yeah. I mean, for your sake, I really hope that this next episode kind of ends some quarrels that you have with the show. Some questions you might have get answered, hopefully. I don't know. I don't expect this episode to 100% turn you around on the season.
Yeah.
But I hope that it helps you see it in a better light. But even saying that, like, I'm not seeing the season in a very good light. So like,
Yeah.
I can't say that I expect you to. Honestly, what I was hoping for though, because I feel like we have like a good range of like different perspectives here. Like, you having not played the games at all, Aiden has played the game, but like he's pretty far removed from it, and I'm like obsessed with it essentially. I was hoping that like you, as somebody who has not played the game, and like maybe you would enjoy the show and what they're doing with it, but it seems like they're dropping the ball even with that audience. So I struggle to understand who this season is for at this point. So,
I mean, I don't know if it's for them, but if it helps grasp anything for you, I mean, the only praise I see coming for this show is girls that love Ellie and Dina and their relationship and just love focusing on that. Like, that is genuinely the only, like, oh my God, whenever Dina said this to Ellie, like, doing the, and it's like, that's the only praise I see for the show. Either that or people that like have pages dedicated to The Last of Us Part 2 that are like, guys, just get over it. Like, not everything has to be 1-to-1. Play the game. Those are the only two like praises I see. Is mainly girls that love Ellie and Dina and their relationship to the point where they will pick out any conversation or make like little fan edits to them, and just like diehards that are just coping with it for some reason. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will be really interested to see where, well, I mean, it might be obvious, but where this will fall in our show ranking for 2025. Because
Yeah.
like
I don't know, bro. Aiden's still over there bouncing on episode 2, so I don't know.
Oh, I'll tell you right now, if it were to end right here, it'd be dead last.
And that's what's crazy. Is it just like, if you would have asked me for these first 6 shows that we got this year, where The Last of Us would be, I would probably have said that I would like it more than Invincible and Daredevil. Like, I love
Really, more than
1.
Daredevil? Really?
I probably would put The Last of Us season 1 above Daredevil Born Again for me.
Okay. Okay.
Like, that's,
I could see that. I could see you doing that.
well, that's what and that's all I have to base it off of.
Okay.
Is how much I enjoyed season 1. So just like, to have this not even really be a contender with the other shows, it, like, just to fall off a cliff is really upsetting. But I mean, I guess we have two more weeks. I didn't realize it was that few. I was assuming we were getting like 10 episodes or something.
Whoa!
Yeah, for
I
some
thought-
reason, because it was 9
thought-
last season, but for some reason,
Yeah.
yeah, it's 7 this year. I don't know why.
Yeah. So
Sheesh.
not going to be good. Not going to be good.
Well, next week, I think all we have is The Last of Us. I think that's it.
The Last of Us, and then whatever new releases we decide to check out. I mean, you both
Yeah.
said you were planning on watching Final Destination.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Make some time to go to the theater, yeah.
But honestly, it'll be good. Like, it's been an incredible first few months of the year, but also like, we have
Yeah.
had so much.
I mean, dude, I was looking at our last couple episodes. Like, the last time we were under 2 hours was a long time ago.
Yeah, we've really, we've been covering a lot. So I mean, I've loved it, obviously, and we're getting into more heavy movie season. Like, a couple weeks from now, we get into Mission Impossible, we get into Ballerina, and a couple other things, which I'm really excited for. And then even Ironheart is next month. So like, there's more stuff on the horizon. We'll be talking about Ironheart.
I'm just kidding.
It
There's
is crazy
more-
though. The rollout
next-
is crazy though. I will say, just 2
Next-
weeks of 3
Yeah.
episodes each. Back
Next
to the
week, we
six
can-
episode slot, bro. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
Is how long has it been since we've had that, bro? What was the
Yeah.
last one? It wasn't.
No.
I think it was because Agatha was 9.
Yeah.
I think it
might
was
have been
Secret Invasion, or it was Loki season 2.
Yeah.
Which one
it was
came-
Might
Loki
be
season
right.
2. It was Loki season 2.
Which Loki season 2 wasn't a slop. So my bad saying another 6 episode slop. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
mean, in the past. Yeah.
there's more exciting stuff on the horizon, but I'm also excited to have a bit of a breather so that I can, start catching up on other shows as well. Like obviously The Bear is going to be coming out next month, and so I would love to be caught up before that. And then also just like as we get into May and June, more so like end of June, just like mid-year kind of recap stuff, talking about some of our favorite movies and stuff of the year so far. So there's a lot of cool things on the horizon, but it will be nice to not have like a movie and 4 episodes of television all to cover all at once.
Yeah.
And I mean, we didn't even talk about new stuff that came out this week, and I'm sure we'll get a ton of new stuff over the summer as well. Like, it's gonna be crazy.
Set leaks, Doomsday set leaks came out.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones, Daredevil Born Again season 2.
Yeah,
Fire.
that like, as much as we say, oh, it's gonna slow down, it's like there's always something. There's always something. And like, we're gonna reflect back on this and be like, dang, we were in like an incredible first half year of television, because I mean that's exactly what it has been. So it's just like, it's great, but it's been a lot.
2026 is going to be crazy too. I don't know about for TV, but just everything, like all media, it's going to go insane.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
GTA 6.
There was a point in time where on December 12th we had an episode where we talked about Creature Commandos, Clayface news, Spider-Man news, Doomsday rumors, and Smile 2. Like we
Nice and simple.
like
Nice and
I
simple.
I'm fine with this era.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
little section we're in.
Yeah,
Remember
definitely.
Creature Commandos, bro? Oh, dude, and we're going to have Peacemaker in a couple months too.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right
my
after
brain.
Superman, yeah.
Did we ever talk about Peacemaker season 1? Did we talk about that on the pod?
no.
No.
We were
I
not
don't think so.
doing it yet.
When did
at
Peacemaker season 1 come out?
that.
2021?
Like 2021, August, July.
Well, no,
2021.
isn't that when Suicide Squad came out?
That's when the Suicide. I think it was the next year. I think it was like 2022.
2022.
No way it came out the same year as Kenobi and. Yeah,
Suicide?
well, no.
Or
Peacemaker.
It came out in January of 2022.
Okay.
Mm.
I guess I don't think we were doing the pod at that point.
Over 3 years. I mean, he had to do Superman too, so that's whatever. I was about to say over 3 years for another season. Like that's crazy. But he
did Guardians and yeah.
Oh yeah. he
Yeah,
did
we-
Guardians as well.
The pod wasn't up and running at that point in time.
Yeah.
So that'll be
Great.
fun.
Yeah. But there's always something. It's exciting. We will be back next week, not with a 3.5-hour episode, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But we just yap a lot, and there's been so much to talk about.
They say they like the long ones. This will be the proof. Proof is in the pudding, ladies and
This might
gentlemen.
be the longest episode we have ever done.
It 100% is. There's no way we've done a longer one, unless it was like a live stream.
Yeah, which is
Holy.
crazy. So if anyone made it this far, you're a trooper. Thank you so much for tuning in. Absolutely crazy. And we definitely appreciate you if you somehow made it this long. I couldn't listen to Aiden and Charlie for this long. I mean, I guess I had to because I sat here, but we had a great time. Sad that Andor has finished, but also just great that we can reflect back on such an amazing show, and that it stacks up against the heavy hitters that this year has had so far. So thank you all so much for tuning in. If you're still around, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave a rating, all the good stuff. And we will be back next week at this exact same time, yapping about more nerdy news and movies and television shows and whatever else comes our way. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you all next time. Sayonara.
Adios.